Hello, good evening, and welcome. YouTube seems to be in a good mood, and we have people in the chat. So if you are there in the chat, say hello. Would that I could say hello in the chat. Why can't I say hello in the chat? Oh, it's one of those nights, is it, YouTube? Wouldn't surprise me.
My watch has just buzzed.
What does that mean?
Tells me you're live.
Oh, cool. Cool. You hear rustling? That'll be me. I can't post anything in the chat. Honestly, YouTube, if it's not one thing, it's another. But I'm live, so it can't space fairer than that. Now I can, so I'm going to say hello. Hello, Jonathan. Hello, Carl. Hello, Deb. Hello, Kim. Excellent. Oh, overcast. Well, I should actually have put some pictures of this in the presentation, but I actually don't think I'm going to need to because I'm reckoning you have all seen them. We are not far away, although I do think possibly Jonathan's even nearer than we are. We're not far away from the debacle that is unfolding in Whaley Bridge.
Where's Jonathan?
Jonathan's somewhere between Manchester and Leeds, I think.
Is he?
So he could be right on it, but I don't think so. Because I'm thinking you live somewhere more urban, shall we say. But who's seen the news about Whaley Bridge? Here we go. Hello, folks. Right. I'm in. Excellent. Yes, we are alive. We have had local flooding. The brook near our house has flooded, but the brook is not that big. Having said that, it did flood a local hotel. The River Mersey is
Johnny I's in Ancoats.
Is he in Ancoats?
Yeah.
Oh, you're quite safe there. You're all right there, I would expect.
Yeah, there's only the River Irwell that might spill over.
There was a thing, a piece I saw in the evening news that was saying that barge owners were concerned that the barges would float away.
Oh dear.
And I thought, well, you know, what do you normally do with
One
them?
particular barge owner.
I was thinking about that myself. Anyway, the Mersey's about a mile away, and the Mersey has burst its banks, but we're very fortuitously placed. Let's put it like that. But the rain has been biblical. We have suffered with the rain greatly. Oh, 5 minutes from Piccadilly. Now that's what I call organisation. Excellent. We're just very nicely placed, really. We don't suffer too much with the snow, although I'd rather like more of it. And we're not too badly off with the rain. We don't flood easily. But the heat's not been good. Haven't enjoyed the heat one little bit. Hello, Neil. Glad that you're with us too. So we're discussing the rain. The rain's been biblical and not good. Right, I'm going to share my desktop, make sure that you can see that. So let's share that. Woo, you should be seeing my desktop. So I didn't put anything in about the rain this week about MacBites headquarters. There's just been a lot of it. But what we are going to do tonight, we have got to catch up. Those web-based galleries with Divi, finished. Fabulous. Now, last week we looked at an inexpensive app. It was 99 pence or 99 cents. And it turned your iOS device into, well, actually, I think it was only the iPad, into a whiteboard. Well, you all seemed to have lots of questions about that and would have liked it to do lots and lots of things. Well, basically, it doesn't do lots and lots of things. So, there are two others that do a lot more. So we thought we'd have a look at those. That is Microsoft Whiteboard. Don't poo-poo it. It's very, very powerful. And Google Jamboard. I think even more so, but that's only me. Then we've got some freebies. And then we've got the Comic Creation Kit. Part 3, Halftone. But the catch-up, there's another catch-up as well, but I've rolled that into the week at MacBites headquarters. So, let's get on with it. Right, yes, Saturday. What did we do on Saturday? Oh, yes, you'll remember Saturday. Saturday was the emergency procedure. Now, I need to just check my slides and see where I've actually put this. And I did it much later, so forget Saturday. We must have been a quiet weekend. Was it a quiet weekend, mate?
We had the dog.
Oh, we had Lola. It was fabulous. We had great fun. Anyway, Monday came around faster than I would have liked. You know your notifications? Very, very important. Yeah? That you would like, what would you say, Mike? Instantly? Urgently?
Yeah.
At least within what? What would you say is an average time that you would be prepared to wait for a notification?
5 seconds.
In fact, put it all in the chat. What length of time would you be prepared to wait for a notification? Mike and I have noticed with WhatsApp that sometimes he's got the message and we're in the same group together and I don't get it for sort of 5 minutes, which I think is absolutely obscene. But this one on Monday took the biscuits. No. I was in the process of updating my apps, so you can see the update screen when I show it to you. Hello, John. Hello, Graham. When this message popped up, that one. Do you think Bernie will have noticed I haven't replied? Now that one says failed to send. In other words, she's still waiting to hear from me. That takes some doing, that, doesn't it? I have no idea what it's talking about because as far as I know, all my messages did send. I have no idea. 701 days. I thought that was a little bit excessive myself. So Monday was spent swearing at the kit. But I made a promise. And it is indeed next week. This is all in relation to last week's calamity, which was, if you recall, had an emergency on Saturday, needed to install a hard drive. Had to put in that, which was the 4-port hub off my laptop. So, placed an order for that. Then there was a whole saga involved because Amazon sent it to DPD on a Sunday and it wanted signing for. Anyway, in the end, it arrived. And I was able to show you the final result, which is there. But between that and that, a lot went on, and I promised that I would show it to you. So you're going to need to let me know when it finally comes through, Mike, whether the levels are right. If they're not, that would be a calamity. But I have a video. Which I will endeavour to play for you. So, here I am in the studio. Let's show you around. That is a rack that I put my iOS devices in. I have one microphone, one lonely microphone. Why is that stopped? Hang on a minute, let me get back to that video. Let's try that again.
Levels sound fine to me.
Good. So, let's leave here I am in the studio. And I take it back let's show you around. That is a rack that I put my iOS devices in. I have one microphone, one lonely microphone at the moment, but it's soon to be joined by brethren when I get that installed, which is a dual microphone holder. That's going to go up there and I'll be able to hang 2 microphones off it. But that's for another day. Today it's this. Yes, back in there with that. That's one monitor, and if I pan round, it's not the tidiest at the moment, so forgive me. But there we go, there's the other monitor. Now, that's the acoustic mat, by the way. And that's dust. Look at that, needs dealing with. Right, so it's going up under the desk. Let's go down. First thing, charging solution. Under mice, you'll notice there's 3 of them. It's a long story. But let's go down further. Keep going. Try and get it to focus. It's a bit dark. Ooh, go on, focus. You want to, really. There we go. Right, that black thing there in front of the flashing green things, that's the USB 2 hub that's got to come out. And on that shelf there, probably just to the right of centre, is where I want this one to be installed. So I'm going to head off and actually do that. Can't hold this, talk to you and install it. So I shall put this down, try and install it, and then get back to you with if it was a success or not. So bear with me. The back of said computer, it's not too bad, is it? Come on, that's not too bad. It's just these hard drives that I want to move from there to the shelf. You'll see I've put in a temporary solution. That is a 4-port hub, not powered, that's for my laptop. So that was what I did at the moment as a solution. So all of that's got to come out. I've got to move the desk as well. This isn't good. Back soon. Well, needless to say, everything had to move. But what I'm left with, oh, look at that dust, is much tidier. I even have spare ports. Frightening, I know. But job is done. That shouldn't be there. That's one of the things I've taken out. So I'm about to put it back together. Then I'll be able to show you just how much I've taken out I don't need. So back shortly. So I'm back. Back at the front. All of this, I've removed. I know. There's more of that than I expected. That is the original USB 2 hub. Still in the wrapping, notice that. It was great in its day. How many ports did it have? Oh, quite a few. That must be 13. Yes, 13 ports, because there's one on the top as well. But as I say, it's a USB 2, so that had to go. I expected that to come out, and I expected its associated cable to come out. Also this, that was my temporary solution, that can now go back with my laptop. But all of the rest of those cables I found. I won't say they're old, but look at that one. For those millennials amongst you, that is a Firewire 800 cable. I've not used one of those in years. But I think what had happened was, I'm sure you've been there, you've installed cables for your toys, you retire a toy, can't get the cable out, think to yourself, I'll just leave it there, I'll get it out when I get a moment. And that's what it looks like when you finally do get them out. Some of the cables aren't as old as that. One was off a microphone I used to use. I think that was... that's the other end of that one. Where is it? It's this one here. So that's perfectly usable. That's a USB cable, but it's not actually in use right now. So I took the opportunity to completely tidy up and get rid of that lot. What does it look like underneath here? Well, better than it did. Still got mice. I have lost something in the translation, but never mind. These are the hard drives I've installed. These two here. Top one, bottom one. 2 SSDs. If you're wondering what the lights are that are flashing, that's my switch. There is a switch underneath this computer just for equipment in here. And there, let's get down a bit so we can see it, is the new hub. Powered and purring away nicely. It is hanging off that shelf a smidgen, as you can see. But I did manage to get the rather short cable to the back of the computer and the also rather short power cable to a power point, and it's working. So those two drives are plugged in over there. That little white thing you can see there, that's for one of the mice. What got lost in the translation was there was 2 of those. It's on the floor somewhere. So that's the very last thing I'll need to do. Go find the other one that I dropped and get that installed. But once I get these cables off the desk, I'm happy with that. Not a cable. Well, actually, there's one cable to be seen, which is that one, which is an audio cable. And the reason that's the only one you can see is it's too short to go behind here. You can just see behind here. We have cables. There they are. I'm going to have to push those up a bit, because I do not want to see any of them. But I'm very, very, very happy with that. If I get my finger out of the way, you'll be able to see it all. So I've still got the microphone to install, but everything else fine and dandy. Oh yes, there we go. And my little on-air sign. And an Alexa hiding behind there. There you go. So that was that's an hour I'll never get back. But it's a job well done, I'm going to say. So let's hand back to me in real time. So there it was, as promised. There was a lot to that, wasn't there? Including all the dust. Did actually this week get some more done. So as promised about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I will do a video when I've actually finished the whole thing. Right, second catch up from last week. We looked at how to create a web-based photo gallery. It was easy. We used WordPress. which had Divi on top of it, which is a theme. In fact, it's more than a theme. It's basically a platform that lives on top of WordPress. It's what we power all our sites with. It makes it easier. When we started with it, we had it on one site. And then it was like, do you know what? How much easier would life be if it was on all of them? So as it says there, it is a very, very, very popular theme. There is a whole ecosystem popped up around it in terms of people who are offering services in not just how to install WordPress, but how to build entire sites using Divi. So that was what we did. The reason that we did it being, I had 400 slides, if you recall, and I needed a good way to display them. Luckily, they were grouped by year. So the system I came up with was that I could have taken it one level extra, if you recall. I could have had the index page at the top, which is Brooklyn 700. Why have I got 700 there? Oh yeah, 700, that was the event. Right, and then below that, I've got one page per year. Now, I could have gone one extra, they're decades, I could have gone one extra level and done one per year, but we would have been there forever. So basically, the page structure that I built, and I built the index page, which was that, and that had branding at the top. It then had an image that was the post image, so the image for the entire thing. So it said Brooklyn 700 on it. Then there was a little bit of text and introduction, and then there was images, each one representing one of the years. So we'll see this. I'm just taking you through what you actually saw me build. Then there was subpages, one for each decade. You had the branding at the top of that. Then there was an image put for the decade. Then there was a gallery of images, and they were all of the images for that particular decade. So within that gallery, there was usually navigation as it went on to 2 pages. The final thing that I built was the green strip along the bottom, which was navigation. And I discussed with you how important it was that that was global navigation, and I did it with a global library item. Well, by the end of the demonstration, I'd got the index page and I got 2 other pages, but it's finished. So I thought I'd show it to you. Right, we are going to need Chrome. There we go. So this is the homepage of Brooklands 196, where the gallery is hosted. As you can see, there are some programs here. And oh, look, Mike. Right, well, the page in question is this one here, Brooklands 700 presentation. So when you click on that, it takes you through to a standard blog post, which just tells you that there is a gallery available rather than hosting the gallery itself. Oh, glad to hear you're enjoying it, Roger. It is incredibly straightforward, but so much more powerful than anything I have ever seen on WordPress. So the reason that it's being done with a standard post and then pointing through to an index page is if we'd have put the index page in the post would disappear in time. The way a blog works, and WordPress is hosting a blog, although it can have static pages, you post something to your blog. So if you think in terms of, let's go to my blog, my bit of a dusty blog. When you post something, the newer stuff is at the beginning and is in your face. But as you go down, you get to the older stuff. So your older entries disappear below the fold, and then they disappear off the homepage. So for instance, we've got a ScreenFlow 6 review there. But you'll notice there was a ScreenFlow 7 thing and a ScreenFlow 8 thing. So it's right that that is further away. But with something like this, we may want to feature that again. And a good way to feature it again is have it as a page. So the difference between posts and pages, these are posts. They are the little bits of stories that are on a blog. But pages are more persistent in nature. So your About Me, you wouldn't want disappearing down the list of stuff. So the About Me, presentation, slides, videos, text setup, contact, they're all pages. So the page for Brooklands is linked to here. It's not directly in the navigation. There's no need for it to be there at the moment. We could feature it though if we wanted to. So that's the jump off page that you saw me make last week. There it is. Each one of these is an image and it links through to that decade. You may notice one change because somebody asked a question. And I think I changed it after the event, didn't I, Mike? I'm sure I did. And one of the questions we got was, is this responsive? Because it looks so fabulous, it can't be, can it? Actually, it is. So if I just scoot that down, it won't go thinner than that at the moment, but that's the size of a phone. I know it looks a little bit big, but my screen's at 1600 by 900 at the moment. That's why. I needed them to be in 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties and 10s in that order. So the trick with WordPress and Divi is understanding what you would need to do in a standard layout to get that. And what I'd done initially was put 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties, 10s. But it needed to go down and then up and down and then up for it to work in responsive mode. So that's why they're in that order. Right, so I think we built the 60s, didn't we? Did we build the 60s and 70s page? So as I said, you've got your branding across the top, then you've got the decades, then you've got the actual gallery with all of the images in. And you can pick any one of those, it will bring that up, and then you can use the navigation within the gallery to go forward and backwards between all of the stories. There we go. Now, at the bottom, we have the navigation, if you remember. And that was the global library item, so I only had to build it once. Now, if you look at that, there's no real other way to navigate other than the back button. But that navigation could be put where it is at the bottom, but you could also put an extra copy of it between the decade and the images if you wanted. You could slot it in there. So that was the 60s. There's the 70s. I remember some of the 70s, but obviously it was the very late 70s. Having said that, love Queen, love ABBA. Don't remember Concorde's first flight. Remember its last one, though. I do remember Clive Sinclair with that TV. I wanted one. I wanted one so badly it hurt. And now we don't even have a TV. Tells you something about the quality, doesn't it, of the programmes. But there you go, there's the 70s. What I hadn't built, just purely for time, was the rest of it. So that is all available, and I'm sure Mike can put you in a link to it. That is all available for you to go have a look at. Tell me your favourite story. I must admit, I did like the 80s. Don't remember much of the 90s. I spent the late 80s and 90s at university. So there you go. Everything that you need is there. And there's the navigation within the gallery. So that takes you up to 96, but you have navigation within the gallery to take you further to the end of 1999. And right up to the present day, there we go. So 2012 through to 2016, and the last one's taking us through to 2019. There we go. So I just thought I'd show you the finished thing. That didn't actually take that long. I was able to, with these pages, let's get down to the navigation. In fact, you know what? Let's go back. Let's go to the actual presentation itself. Get to that jump off point. These pages that are linked to from here, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties and 10s, once you'd done one, you just duplicated it to get the next one and made the changes. Duplicate, make the changes. So really, I only had 2 pages to make. Mike made the post that linked to it, but I made the index page and these decade pages. And the other decades just followed on, populate them, and you're done. What I will say is, if you're actually using it, and obviously Roger's actually using it, make triply careful before you upload your images that you want in the gallery, that you, point 1, select them correctly. And what I mean by that is select the first one and then hold the command key down and select the last one. What was happening last week, if you remember, was the last image was going first and I had to move it. And you can manually move images. That's not a problem. So if we went into the 90s and for whatever the reason I had made a mistake, and that Glasgow one was actually one of the ones causing a problem. That Glasgow one had come in last. So I dragged it back to where it needed to be and that solved the problem. But if you randomly upload them, you upload them as you get them, say for a wedding, or you're showcasing some images like these where they've got to be in the right order or it won't make any sense. Upload them in the right order. The oldest first. if you want them going in the order that you see there. There's very little scope at the moment in a Divi gallery to do anything other than the order they were uploaded, oldest first, or random. Now, random might work for some things, but it certainly wouldn't work for that. People would have no idea where they were. And that was a problem that we came across as we were doing it. And what happened was Firefox wouldn't upload 3 images. I have no idea what was wrong with the 3 images, but Firefox was not having them. They were no bigger than the rest, and Chrome had no problem at all. And I said to Mike, this would be a nightmare if you'd uploaded them all in the wrong order. But most of the time, you'll have all of the images first. And I'm sure I said, when I talked about making the presentation, make sure that you know what you're doing first, then go and do it. And then I didn't even think about the gallery until the whole thing was done. I certainly wasn't uploading it as I went along. So that is the finished article. You have now seen the finished article. Okay, let's get rid of that and go back to there. Right, last week we looked at, what was it called? MapNote. Is it MapNote, Mike? I've completely forgotten the title of it. MapNote. You were all really keen on the idea of a whiteboard, and 99 pence didn't seem like a bad idea. Only problem was it really didn't do much. So these are 2 alternatives that do. You're really, really going to like the price. Both of them are free. Now, I'm going to look at one and then I'm going to look at the other. I contemplated a head-to-head. It would actually be most unfair, although I can't see many people using both unless they were forced to. So if you're working with a client and you want to brainstorm something and they're on Microsoft and they don't touch Google, then you might want to use this one. If they're on Google, you might want to use the other one. But I would say Mike and I looked at both. And I recall, Mike, maybe you can put me right on this, but I recall we really put them through their paces.
We did.
And we decided on Jamboard. But I've just shown you, 30 seconds worth of whiteboard tonight? And your eyes were glazing over with, oh. So don't make your mind up, even though it's Microsoft, until we've actually had a look at it. So it's been out a while. Originally, it was a physical product. Who's actually seen one? The original product was quite expensive, about £5,000 to £6,000, and it was a huge interactive screen. So it was an interactive digital whiteboard, but it was a physical digital whiteboard. So you could call people into a conference. You could physically have them in the same room. It was very tactile, but it was also hugely expensive. So about 2.5 years ago, they were getting lots of people saying, tablet, Surface, iPad, could do that. And they decided that they would take the technology that they put into this thing, the Surface Hub, and they would make an application, and that is what they've done with it. So let's actually have a look at it. Now, as I said, it's free. I am now moving things on my desk. I need to show my iPad, and that always goes so well, doesn't it? And I've got reflections of things, and I've got to get a camera involved. Oh yes, get a camera involved. That reminds me, I could do with actually turning the camera on, couldn't I? Let's see if will it play ball tonight? Let me just whip that back over here, and let's see what mood it's in. Oh, it's in a very awkward mood. Let me no, the camera's not covered. I'm there. I really am. Right, let's see if we can get my iPad on the screen. And then I'll share it. Okay. So who's using any of these at the moment? Who's ever used anything like that? There's my iPad. Just about straight, isn't it? And I will mirror the screen. Away we go. Coming through. There we go. I will endeavour, as usual, to make it a larger size for you to see. Of course, it does have a complete and utter mind of its own. So we'll just see what mood it gets into. There we go. So as you can see, I've got both in fact, I've got all three. I've got MapNote, I've got Whiteboard, and I've got Jamboard. So let's start off with Whiteboard. There we go. Now, first thing to think about. Using Jamboard with the kids. It is a fantastic thing for kids. I think the one last week was a great idea for kids, and I did say that. In education, I would say possibly Jamboard edges it, but I think that's only because Microsoft have really pushed OneNote in education. So with Whiteboard being newer, they've not really got there with Whiteboard in education, but it can be used for that. Now, what I've done with this is I've actually logged in already, so you can see my name at the top. You are going to need, undoubtedly, to even get as far as we are getting now, you are going to need a Microsoft account. Now, a Microsoft account is completely free. That's the good news. You will probably already have one. Now, you might say, no, I definitely haven't. But in its former life, a Microsoft ID was called all kinds of different things. A Live ID, an Xbox ID, a Hotmail ID, you name it, it's all a Microsoft ID and it all works. I'm having great fun here, Mike. I've got an iPad and it's not playing ball. It won't log me into anything at all. So I'm finding it. This is why I have 14 iPads, because none of them ever work. Notion's logged me out on one and GoodNotes has logged me out on another. Now it's saying what's new, not interested. I'll get there in the end. I will absolutely get there in the end. Right, so I'm talking about accounts. You will need an account. Now, there are two distinct types of accounts. And if you have, massive air quotes, the wrong one, you're not going to get very far with this. The two distinctions between the accounts Microsoft have, there are work accounts, enterprise level accounts, and there are personal accounts. And if you have a 365 subscription, you will have a personal account probably. You may at work have to use a work ID, an enterprise level account. So you could indeed have two accounts. I do. Mike has three, I think. In here, you could use either, and I believe it would work. It gets a little bit naughty when it comes to the sharing of it, but either account would work. You have one big disadvantage with a personal one, which I will talk about when we come to that being relevant, but just hold that thought in your mind at the moment. So I've got it here on iOS. The reason I'm showing it you on iOS rather than on my Mac is there is no Mac client. As I said, it started life as a dedicated hardware device called a Surface Hub. There is a version for Windows 10, there is this version for iOS, and there is a web preview, which I may have a slight look at. Now, obviously, first thing to do here, I'll tap me, and it says, are you sure you want to log out? No, I don't. So that's just showing you that I'm actually already logged in. And then it's tap to create a new whiteboard. Now, your tools are along the bottom, so the first thing I will show you is the tools along the bottom. It's pretty obvious what they are, and you'll notice there's not much in the way of an interface. The rationale for that has been explained at a presentation that they gave about a year ago, just under a year ago. They wanted you to be able to get into this app and just know what to do. That was their logic. So it's pretty obvious if you want a black pen, you tap there, and if you want a red one, you tap on the red and the blue and the green. Now you might say, well, what if I don't want green? What if I want purple? Now I find this a little bit awkward, but you can tap it, but you can also tap and hold and it will also appear. So tap and hold means you can move around it like that. And you can have it very thin, a little bit thicker, or very thick. I'm going to leave this one at very thick. And as soon as you've done that, you can go and you can type. I'm not type. Ink. Ink, they call it. Ink, they call it. And you can swap between these at will. Oh, I'm very good with this, aren't I? Look at that. Now, what you're actually looking at is only part of a canvas. The rest of it, as you zoom in, it's a limitless canvas. So as I move and I put extra bits in, so I'm just putting an L at the lower corner and then dragging it across, you can see the canvas grows. If you've ever used OneNote, that is exactly the same way that OneNote works. Now you also have gestures. So you can pinch in, so you can see everything. And you can pinch out so you can see in much more detail. So you can actually go into this in here very closely to see your inking. You've also got, so if I just do that, if I double tap with two fingers, two finger double tap, it zooms out and it shows you everything. So navigation wise, it's actually pretty easy. And again, the logic was you'll probably have, well, that's not very good, is it? Bring my hand back and then it'll focus. Go on. Excellent. The logic being that you don't have to put your pencil down to do a lot of this stuff. Okay, now you can in here clear the board. So let's go and clear the board, clear the canvas. Excellent. Now I've shown you the little pens at the bottom and that you can change the colour on these. So we'll have that one back to green. But there's two special ones in here and they are at the moment over here. So that's the first one. I'm just going to make that very big. This is rainbow ink. I know you're wondering. This is the one the kids love. Kids love this one. There we go. Rainbow ink. And if we zoom in, I did make that much thicker. I'm sure I did. I did. I think that should be thicker than that. But there you go. You can see it changing colour. It even looks glittery. Yeah, I'm not thinking much use for work, but you never know. Right, that's rainbow ink. But next to that, you have galaxy ink. You're wondering, aren't you? This one was, let's put in there. Let's try and get that in. There you go. I shall put space. This one, if I zoom in, was actually created, if you actually look at that, from images from NASA. So it's the galaxy, hence galaxy ink. Aren't you glad you came? Now you know you've got rainbow ink and galaxy ink. What more could a person want? Right, so those are the tools at the bottom, which are mainly drawing tools. Now, I'll just draw something like that and put some text on it. Once you've got something like that, which is far more logical, you have your highlighter tool. Now, that one needs to be much thicker if it's going to be a highlighter. Not thick enough at the moment. That's a bit better, although I'd like it to be even thicker. But there you go, you can highlight stuff with your highlighter. You also have the erase tool. Guess what that does? Yes, it erases things. But hold that thought, because it doesn't always do what you think it would do. You also have a ruler, and that literally bangs a ruler onto the screen. And what you can then do with that ruler is, as long as you're drawing near enough to it, it will draw you a straight line. Now you can be on the ruler or you can be off. If you're looking carefully at where I am in the lower right, I am zigzagging along there, but it still draws a straight line. Let's get the rainbow ink on the other side of that. You can draw on both sides of that. You can also turn it round. So I'm going to use 2 fingers to turn that round. And as you turn it round, you see in the middle a number. That number is the number of degrees. So obviously 90 degrees is straight. So I'll go and get a blue one, which should be thinner this time. Put a blue one on it and put a red one on the other side. And then when you toggle the ruler off, you've got straight lines. So if you need straight lines, I was never really into those kind of things. Did you have one of those for maths, Mike?
No.
No, I didn't either. Like a slide ruler thing.
No, I had a protractor and a set square.
I had those and they were far more use. But if you are used to using that, then it's pretty good. Rainbow ink's good for showing DNA connections. I'm liking that idea. I am. It just strikes you as more of a gimmick, but if you can find a use for it, excellent. I must admit, having seen the 2, I prefer the rainbow to the galaxy because it's brighter colours. I'm going all unicorn on you. So that's the ruler. Now, if you want to move this word check...
I was wondering how to twiddle the ruler around.
Now, if you're on... Mike's on his Surface and he's twiddling. If you are on a desktop on Windows, you can use the middle wheel. Just thought I'd tell you that. Obviously, probably useless to everybody who's
I can't use the stylus. I've got to use my fingers.
Well, the stylus is for drawing against the ruler, so no, it wouldn't do that. I wondered if you could kind of type into it.
No, I tried that. It moves it around.
No, it would be nice if you could. Yeah. I think they should take that from Affinity Designer. Anyway, I was saying you want to move this word check and its associated highlight. And that is what the lasso tool is for, where you draw around stuff and you can pick it up and move it. And it doesn't have to be with a pen. You can do that with your finger if you want. Once you've got it selected, You also see you start getting little fly out menus there. I did mean to actually look what that thing did, because it did. Oh, it didn't look like it did anything. It's tidied my handwriting up. Oh, lovely. I find that quite insulting, but never mind. So you'll see those little menus fly out every now and then. Now, those are the tools that you've got along the bottom. But that is not all that you can do with it, because in the settings, you have a couple of very interesting options. So I've got this here. That's saying it's me. The blue circle is letting me share it, but that's a whole can of worms I'll talk about. Then I've got the burger menu. So tap on the burger menu. And it's saying active pen. That's talking about the Apple Pencil. But I also have a lot of other options in here. Now, the first one I'm going to look at is ink to shape. So I'm going to toggle on ink to shape. And that does what I think you would think it did, which is, if I'm good enough, if I've got the right tool as well, that would help. Let's get a black one. If I'm quick enough drawing it, or accurate enough, it will do that. And when I say quick, if I go quite slowly, because I'm trying to get a perfect circle. Oh, it did it that time. But I found sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't do it unless it's done quickly or accurately. But hey, it's working this time. There we go. So basically it's making proper shapes. Now, when I say proper shapes, if you actually look at them, they do have a hand-drawn quality to them in terms of the lines are of different widths. But they are the shapes that you are drawing, which I think is pretty impressive. I like that. Let's try doing another one. It won't always do it, but you never know. So a nice little book there. So that was turning on ink to shape. The one that blew Mike's mind, hadn't got a clue it was there, was ink to table. So I'll slide ink to table on. And you're thinking, what does that do? Well, if I draw, back to the drawing here, yeah, that's it. If I draw a square, it's just a square. But if I put in there a line, now it thinks it's a table. And now it is a table. We've got these extra menus popping up. Tapping the one at the top will add columns, and the one at the side will add rows. And I can then zoom in and out, and it can keep going. But it also remains editable. So if I want to change those a little bit, I can do. That's very impressive. If only tables were that good in OneNote, we'd be getting somewhere. Now, the other thing with this is, let's say we've got date, details, and yes, no. Now, I'm writing a bit strange because here, I'm pointing in the lower right, there's a camera. So I can't really write too straight here, but let's say that that needs to say date. As I start putting the content in it, did you notice it got a little bit bigger? And this one needs to say details. And as I do that, it widens it so it can fit it in. If I was to put a really big yes up there, and then a big line, and then a really big no, you can see it just stretches it as it needs to. And then you can go and you can put that in. So today is that day, and the detail. Why is that moving? I think it was because I did it in two halves. I might have to tidy that bit up a bit. Details. Oh, after hours. There we go. After hours. Always right at an angle. And we'll put a yes in there. So tables, incredibly powerful. You can also, once you're in here, not with that one. Let's undo that one. Your undo's down the bottom. Excellent. They came back. You can, after the event, add extra ones in. Now, obviously, what it's done with that is it's separated it. So it's not all there yet. And it's separated that as well. Not all there yet, but not bad at all. Not bad at all.
I've got a question.
Oh, Mike's got a question. Go on.
Right. You can, in the settings, turn off ink to table. So presumably that means it doesn't draw a table.
Yep.
Right. I did my favourite shape of a football pitch. So I drew a rectangle, put the halfway line in. That created a table. Now I want to draw the centre circle, but I can't.
You'd have to turn it off or put the centre circle somewhere else and drag it in.
Yeah.
It's always one, isn't it?
Turn it off halfway through.
Now, what you can do with your table, you tap and hold that, you'll see you get there the little flyover menu. In fact, no, what is done with that? Not the right flyover menu, that's it. You can move it. Now, what's happened with that text, that's clearly the problem with it. It doesn't think that is part of that. So I'd have to hook those back up and tell it that they were. But you get the idea, you can move it. You can also scale it. So as long as you get it in the right place, you can scale it and rotate it. That's quite powerful for a whiteboard, isn't it, Mike?
It is, I like it.
Yes, he's liking it now. Yeah, and we discounted this one. I'll admit it was a good 9-10 months ago. But anyway, those are the tools that you can actually see. But there is a plus down the bottom. And that plus, when you tap on that, opens up extra things that you can do. So one thing is, let's go and look at these shapes. We'll use one of those shapes as an example. If I have those two selected by drawing around them, there are 3 things I can do on the little menu: copy, cut, and bin. Now, one interesting thing in relation to the binning is this. We know there's an eraser, and we know what it does because we've tried it. If we go and we erase, it erases. The faster you go, so let me draw something else. Let's draw that out again. The faster you go, the bigger the eraser gets. So if I'm going really slowly over here, but look what happens when I speed up. It goes much bigger. So you can do things pretty quickly. Right, so I want to erase these shapes. I've got the erase tool and I'm going really quickly and it's not erasing them. What's going on? Well, they were converted. And once they're converted, if you want to erase them, you must select them first and hit the bin icon. So that's the trick with that. But I wanted to select those and copy them and then paste. Now you've got 2 options with your paste. You can go into the menu and paste, and there they are. And you can then move them around. The other option is, if you want them pasted in a certain place, you can tap and hold and you get the paste icon appearing over there. And once you've got them selected, move them around to your heart's content. There you go. Looking like little footprints at that point. Right, that was one thing that you could do from that menu. Another thing was an image. So it will go in to your photos and you can pluck an image from there. I've got MacBites show art and lots of it. Oh, should we have Mike's BotBot? That'll bring a smile to everybody's face, particularly Graham's. If you've never heard the episode Mike's BotBot, you definitely need to hear it. It's not what you think, not from that artwork anyway. There we go. So that's an image that I've brought in and I can scale and rotate that. I mean, what's better than Mike's BotBot? A rotated copy of Mike's BotBot. Excellent. Right, next thing you can do is you can add some text. Now the text brings up a text window for you to type into it. So I'll put MacBites after hours, which yes, indeed you do. Right, and then tap done. And it puts the text down here. Now, this was where it got a little bit dicey for me and it started to crash. There is a little thumb icon there, which means you can give something a thumbs up. But it was okay applying it. When I came to disapply it, the whole thing crashed. So I'm leaving that alone. But just to show you that you can do some changes in here. So we'll have that MacBites orange. Now, the other thing you can do, was it in that one? Yes, you can tap the ... and you can get alt text. Now, I saw somebody talking about this. He hadn't got a clue what alt text was. Thought they'd left it there just to play with. Alt text is important when it comes to exporting visual information. As it says there, add a description of content for a screen reader. So you would put in there a description of whatever it was. Now, that's text to start with, so it might not need one. Obviously, Mike's BotBot might. And you can put in there what it is. So artwork from an episode. Am I spelling episode right? I am, of MacBites. Let me know in the chat if you've heard that episode. I know Graham has. So when that's exported, you won't see that alt text in your diagram, but somebody who's visually impaired can't see the image, but they can read the alt text. So it is worthwhile doing that. Microsoft are very big at the moment on enabling. So you will find that in a lot of their technologies. Right, so we've done pasting and images and text. Now we have notes. Notes, as the name implies, is definitely a post-it note. So post-it note. And you can put any kind of text on there that you like. And there's the post-it note. You can tap and scale it and rotate it. You can also change its colour. So you have the usual suspects colour-wise. I think I've seen post-it notes in all of those colours. Yellow being the most popular. This was another one where I decided that I would definitely, categorically, leave the thumb alone. It didn't work well. But you can put alt text in there as well. Now you might be wondering why, because there's text in it. But if you tap away and you want to use these notes to have written comments on. So let's try a check this. That actually should belong to the note. But again, it's visual. So a screen reader might not be able to read it too well. So you might want to go into it and you might want to add the alt text for that. I mean, it depends on what level you're working with that as whether that's needed or not. So let's go back and let's put another note in. So note number 2. Not going crazy with these. We'll make that different colour. So let's have a pink one. Make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to tap that and move that. And what on earth happened there? It resized it. The one behind it rotated. What's going on? Well, let's just add another one. So this is note 3. And we want that to be... Don't tap the wrong button. Right. So I'm tapping and holding, which means I'm going into navigation mode. When I hover, I get that little white circle. That is telling me that I've dropped it in the wrong place. Let's go over there. Oh dear. That was because I had my pen selected and it's got giddy. So let's come out of it. Let's get my note. Come on, don't make a liar out of me. Let me move that note into the stack. You are not moving into that. It's put it in the stack, and the reason that blue squiggle is there is I'm struggling with this at the minute. Could be because I've got text behind it, but it shouldn't be because you saw this work the first time. So I want to pick it up and drop it in the stack. That's better. Right. It stacks them so you can throw them out of the way. Now, they are working on, you didn't hear this here, they are working on adding AI logic to it. So maybe if you put all of your notes of a certain kind in green and notes of another kind in pink, eventually it will bring some intelligence to it and enable you to reorganize based on the colour. It's not there yet, but that's the plan. So that is a stack. And when you're in your stack, you can move them together and you can unstack them, flick through them, whatever you need to do with it. So that's pretty useful. Now, the last thing that was in here was camera. And it does want to actually access the camera. It would do, wouldn't it? I'll say yes. Right, it's the back camera, and obviously this is sat on my desk. Oh, there we go. There's a keyboard. Yay, there's a keyboard. Let's move it round. There we go. And you can take a photo. And then use that photo if that's what you want to do. So it puts that in there. Excellent. There we go. You can also, with that, let's see if it's going to be in a playful mood. It is. You can stack your photos up to the side or with the notes as well. So I actually think that was everything that was in there, wasn't it? That's got quite a few features. Quite a few features Mike had not a Scoobies about. We like that. Now, just before we head off and look at the management, if you go into your settings, that's where you can format the background. So you can change the colour of it. Maybe you want it legal or blue or purple. Pink's definitely out of the question. But, you know, you can change the background colour. You can even change whether it has dots on it or squares on it or a graph on it. Diamonds, hybrids, wide rules, you name it. So if anybody can actually type or write on the lines, which I'm not great at, you can change that. So we could put it in with lines. And now it looks like paper. I think at that point, it starts to actually look a lot more like OneNote. So there are your background options, your format the background options. You also can change the location of the toolbar. So you can have it left, right or bottom. For me at the moment, it would probably make more sense on the left. The reason I wouldn't have it on the right is then I'd have to move out of the way to go and get stuff where I think the left would be nearer, but I'll leave it at the bottom. I think that's where it would be on a whiteboard, so it kind of makes sense to be at the bottom. You can clear the canvas, but we definitely don't want to do that with this one. The interesting thing in here is your export. So when you go into the export, I was surprised. I was not expecting that. I thought there would be PNG, but I thought it would be PDF because SVGs are pretty difficult to handle on an iPad right now. Not everything can open them. I'm very surprised, and I would love to ask somebody from Microsoft, why no PDF? Doesn't make any sense to me. But you can take it out as an image or you can take it out as an SVG. So if we take it out as an image, you can then use your share sheet to send it wherever you like. So I will do whiteboard, add your photos, yep, do that. Hang on a minute, let me do that again. I was wanting to, it saved it as an image, yeah, I wanted to save it to files. So if I say iCloud Drive and I put it in my demo data, yes, I probably have, but keep both because I did it in rehearsals. Oh, it's all planned, this, you know. That what I can do is, on my Mac, I can go to that folder. So give it a couple of seconds to synchronise or it'll get itself very upset. Now, what did it call it? Let's have a look. Helpfully named, isn't it? I'll bring it there. It's this one here, PNG3. No, it's disappeared onto another screen, but you can see it. It's there, PNG3. Don't do that to me. Let's see the name, PNG3. Yeah. It's insistent on twanging to the other screen. I will open that, PNG3, and it should open in preview. Having a think about it. It is 165k, so I don't think that's that big. Preview's open. What will have happened is it will be behind here. There we go. Let me move my iPad screen out of the way. And that's what you get. So you've got pretty good fidelity to it. If you think about it, what you normally do with a whiteboard is take a photo of it. I was doing that back in 1999 when I was working on a project for Y2K. They had a system that was built in the sort of late 50s and it wasn't compliant, which they found out third week in November 1999. That was a biggie. So we planned everything out on a whiteboard and then we had to put, I bet you've all seen this. Let me know if you've seen this. Somebody who puts a post-it note on the whiteboard to tell the cleaner not to clean it. Yeah, we did that. And I said, well, I'm just going to take a photo before I go. And it was 1999. I did not have a smartphone, but I did have, was it a Cly? What did I have before a Cly, Mike? Sony Cly. I think it was the Cly.
Abacus.
Yeah, the Abacus wouldn't have taken great pictures. But I did get up to real mischief with my Sony Cly, or Clee, depending on how you say it. So I took a photo of it. So it's like that. It's now no longer editable, but it's there as a reference if you need it. So that wasn't too bad at all. Let's go back into the iPad. Now, there's one thing that we haven't looked at yet. Let's get rid of that. One thing we haven't looked at with this, we've seen all of the features that it's got in there. We've seen absolutely everything. And you'll notice there is an accessibility checker as well. And that will tell you that all of those shapes and stuff have got no alt text in them. So anybody with visual impairment will not know what they are. So if you needed to be 100% accessible, you may need somebody on the team to actually do that, because otherwise you would be doing nothing else but that. But there is no way in there to actually share and collaborate on this. So I'm going to come out of that and show you the file management. It doesn't look like there's much in the way of file management going on, but there actually is. That's our ... here. You can invite participants. We'll look at that shortly. You've then got your export options. So pretty much what we've already seen. Back into there. You can delete it, don't want that, or you could report it. Now at the bottom it says Untitled Whiteboard. It doesn't actually say you can rename it, but you can. So we will call that Project Planning. There we go. So you can name it in there. Now, it did have this old invite participants thing, which is the same invite participants thing that you have in there. And this is what you get, which is an instruction saying that anyone with the URL will have access to the whiteboard. To start sharing, turn sharing web link on. So just tap that and you're done. It doesn't actually show you the link, but you can copy the link. Now, I had a few problems with that. More than a few problems with that. Anyone with the URL, that bit was okay, has access to the whiteboard. Access to the whiteboard to do what? I'm trying to get that camera to focus. It's not playing ball tonight. It's fuzzy as heck. Come on. Well, you can see the screen perfectly and you can just about see my hand moving. It doesn't say whether it's read-only access. It doesn't tell me much at all. The other problem with it is, what if you wanted to direct that to one person? There's no way to do that. So at the moment, I'd say this is very, very good until the point you come to try and share it. Now, at the moment, I have copied that link. I'm considering now, Mike, how I am going to get that link to you from here. If everything was working, I might just be able to do that. I've got a clipboard extender that synchronises my Mac clipboard with my iOS clipboard. So if I go into there and just check, has it synchronised or not? Oh, I love it when it works. Right, I will send Mike a message. Where's messages disappeared to? Are you behind my iPad? No, you're not. There's my messages over there. Excellent. Right, Mike, it's on its way to you in a message. I'm hoping it's the right board. Just check and tell us, is that the right board? Now, come on, don't start being silly and disappear off the screen. Right, so that gave me this hideously long URL. I will show you the hideously long URL by pasting it into a text editor.
I couldn't open this whiteboard.
Oh, that's a great start, isn't it?
Hang on. Hang on.
That is the hideously long URL. Let me narrow that down so it will fit in.
No, it must be signed in.
There is the hideously long URL, so it's not exactly helpful. And Mike has it, and we'll see if that works. Can you see the whiteboard, Mike? Oh, it's looking good. It's gone green. Give me the iPad. Let's get it under the camera and see if it works. That's what you see. We are opening your whiteboard. Now, whether it will or not is a completely different business. I've only seen that go green. It's now gone through purple and all kinds of things. Now, if it's 165K, I wouldn't say it was that big, but there it is. So now what we've got, well, we've got pretty pictures, Mike. Oh, how sweet. You can't see that pretty picture. Let me move the iPad. There you go. Look, pretty pictures. Lower right-hand corner. There we go. So Mike's, this is his 12.9 iPad. Mike has access to that on his iPad. Now, I said the sharing, bit of an issue. Do you want to... Oh, you're drawing around your bot now, are you? I thought you might be. Don't do things with your bot.
I'll try to zoom in, pinch and zoom in.
Yeah, that's another problem. Never give it to somebody who hasn't got a clue what they're doing. I wonder if I can undo that. Am I undoing your stuff or my stuff? Not a clue. Maybe you could undo that. You wanted to zoom into your own bot. Nothing like a MacBites live training, is there? Nothing. Yeah, I'm getting two things that say U1 and U1 on it, which is probably you pinching in and out. Well, Mike has a play around with that. Let me explain the problem to you. iPad to iPad sharing is okay. But Mike and I have tried it where I send him a link, and let's assume he hasn't got Microsoft Whiteboard. Well, I said to you, it's available online. I did, didn't I? It is in preview online. So let me move the iPad out of the way. Let's lose the iPad. And let's take that link, that hideously long link. There it is, hideously long link. And go into that. Oh, I've got an error completely. It won't get anywhere. It's not working. That's not working at all. The error I had before, clearly Mike's broken it. Let me try just taking that copy again and see if it works. You never know. You never know. Because that looks a little bit too long to me. No, it's not working. But don't fear, you're not missing anything. Because what happened last time was it prompted me to log into Microsoft, and I did. And it told me that my Office 365 account could not be enabled on the tenant. So if you have a standard account, a standard personal account, and you see that same message, what it's saying to you is that account cannot use the preview version of Whiteboard on the web, which is a huge problem because it means you're limited to either a desktop version on Windows, the iOS version. You just have to wait. So I said to Mike, well, that's okay because we've got a business account as well. I'll share it to your business account, I said, Mike. Gave him the link. We made sure, because we are in control of that enterprise account, that it was enabled, and it was, and it wouldn't share it. So there are, because the web version is in preview, expect a lot of what you're seeing right now. Not great. But at least you're aware of it. Stick to the iPad or the Surface for the moment. The web version, I think, will get there. It's something that they are very intent on using. Microsoft have said that, in their opinion, what they want you to do with this, let's bring the iPad back, they see this in your workflow as an initial starting point. Before you create Word documents and PowerPoint presentations and anything else, you're working on a project, you're brainstorming stuff, you might put a note to yourself. So if you can imagine Mike and I working up to that Brooklyn 700 party, we're going to need the cake, we're going to need the food, we're going to need brochures, we're going to need it. So you put all of that on there. And then you might have a meeting a week later and you start to flesh it out a bit more. And say on week 3, you say, okay, I'm going for that presentation. So you put on there, you need to create a presentation. And then you go away and create the presentation. So that's where Microsoft sees the position of that. Google have a completely different approach to it. It is amazing it's not more tightly integrated with Teams. Another use for it is to have a whiteboard there in the middle of a Skype conversation. They do encourage OneNote in Teams. OneNote is developed completely independently from this, although, as I said, one of the engineers has been moved from the OneNote team to the Whiteboard team, and he's taken the intellectual property with him. So the ideas have gone with him. They know where they're going with it. But I do agree with you. They do have a tendency to bring out some great ideas, and it never quite hooks up correctly with everything else. I mean, when I show you Jamboard, there'll be something and you'll think, well, that's obvious. And this does not do it. So let's move on to the next one. Let's go into Jamboard. Now, this is Jamboard on an iPad. We have actually used this, as you can see here. The one at the bottom with the panda and the houses, that was a bit of Mike. That was not me. That was us testing it for the first time. So it was a year ago. It was August last year. The next one must have been in September, because that's me in my Darth Vader outfit. Do you want to see that one? I was, what can I say? I was testing inserting an image, and I'd been to a fancy dress party, and that's me in my Darth Vader outfit. I made it all. I made all of that. Oh, helmet included. What a night that was. Right, this one is our real one. Can you remember what we did in... Oh, yes, I remember what this was for. You'll notice the bit in the middle, hoping for. Yeah, hope triumphed expectation, sadly. And, yeah, the front end, no, it didn't work. But it was me trying to explain to Mike what I wanted. I knew what the back end looked like. I knew what the front end looked like. And what I was hoping for was to replace the link between the back end and the front end with a system whereby I uploaded something to a folder and it automatically processed it. Needless to say, that was never going to work. But it shortcutted how long it would take me to explain to Mike what I wanted. I said, look at the bit in blue, can it do that? And he said, no. I said, fair enough. So we left it alone. So that was our document library. It's not the note-taking app you're looking for. No, it's not. Right, that was me playing around today. So what I'll show you with this is, right, I wanted to start with this on the iPad. So you could do a better comparison between this and Whiteboard. But there's a whole different level to this.
I think all the Star Wars jokes are coming out now.
Okay, fair enough. What's the other one? I am your father.
Yeah.
Can I just say... No, I can't say that, can I, Mike? I can't admit that. Should I admit that? Why not? Never seen Star Wars. Right, moving along swiftly. You'll see you've got two options. You can either join a jam or create a new jam. So obviously here we want to create a new jam. If you've ever used this before, you might be thinking those tools look different. They've redesigned them so they're very black and white. So I'm moving this camera over here. It's still not focusing well. I've no idea what's wrong with it. Obviously in a bit of a mood tonight. I can refresh the cameras. I wonder if that would do any good. It's really not behaving itself. All right, tools over here, very black and white. Right, tap on the first one. You have pencils. They are not all the same pencils. So that first one there is a pencil. And the second one, slightly different. Very different. So these are all, that's like a wash. Very, very different. So they are all very different there. In terms of changing the colour, colours are changed elsewhere, but then indicated on the actual tool itself. Like that. Yeah, fabulous. So those are your different types of pencils. So you don't have the option here to have different sort of board pens ready at the bottom. But it's not actually, it doesn't actually take you that long to go in and change them. You just need the tool that you want to use, so probably that second one. In there, choose a colour, and you are good to go. So pretty much what you would expect. Standard stuff. Oh, that was fantastic, wasn't it? Air server's just died a death on me, Mike. That does not bode well. That looks like this does not like playing well with air server. But we'll see. Now it'll become a game of cat and mouse. As I come in to make this thing bigger and it insists on making it smaller. But at the moment, we'll leave it be. Right, so you also have an erase tool. I love the fact you can actually see the dust going off the board. Oh, I'm easily pleased, aren't I? Yeah, I'm loving that. The dust's even in the right colour. Oh, come on, it's got to be done, you've got to admit. I know I could clear the whole board, but this is so much more cathartic. So I do like that idea. There we go. Now, I said in the other one you had a limitless canvas, and in here you don't. You have frames. So if you want to go, let me draw a square on here in green. That's pretty much frame 1. Across the top, it will take you in then to frame 2. So if we choose a different colour and come in here for frame 2. Excellent. And you can go on and create frame 3. So you get the idea. And then you navigate going backwards across here and it indicates which one you are actually on. Now that may be a good thing or it may be a bad thing. The limitless canvas is fantastic for mind maps and stuff like that. But if you need to produce this for anything else, so for consumption in slides maybe, or to print out, that it's going to be more useful that it's on separate frames. That's why I would say now, apart from the debacle of the sharing thing, which works fine as long as you're both on iPads or mobile devices, I may be tempted to use Whiteboard if I wanted that kind of limitless canvas. But we've gone for this one. Hopefully you'll see all the extra features and you'll understand why. Right, other things to look at in here. We have the ability for handwriting recognition. This will work well, won't it? I will endeavour here to get it to recognise that. There you go. So it works well as long as you type beautifully, write beautifully. Now let's have a look. Let's try my normal handwriting. No, you see, I write sideways, but it didn't do bad. Rambo with a W. I wonder if I managed to do it straighter. Would it do it if I did it straighter? Rainbow. Let's try rainbow. Yes, it did. So it's not bad. It's not bad at all. And that menu fly out there, which will work on others as well. Oh, you're not doing that, are you? Gives you a copy of it. Right, now one thing to test I haven't actually tested. Ooh, yes, it's doing the same as the other one, isn't it? Your eraser tool does not erase objects. It erases hand marks that you have drawn. But I'm presuming that would select it, and then you drag it down to the bin. So let me get that. And the bin appears, and it disappears. So obviously I would need to lose Rambo with a W. Can I also point out, I've never seen Rambo. Not big on films. It's not having a TV that does it. Right, let's see. Oh, you picked up both. I don't need to pick up both. I wonder if you pick it up if I just do that. Oh, you do. That's fantastic. Excellent. Loving that. Right, so that was the handwriting recognition. Then we've got shape recognition. Well, we know what shape recognition does, don't we? If I draw a square. Now, I think that is much neater than I was getting with the other one. So let's try ovals and triangles. No, it couldn't do that. My triangle creation's not the best, is it? Etc. So, works fairly similar. You do get a fill with those, though. A nice fill with them. Right, and then we've got that one at the bottom, which is auto draw. You're going to love this. So I'm moving on to page 2 here, and I'll try and draw it in blue. That is what I will do. Right. So imagine that you have an idea what you would like to draw. You're not the best at drawing it, but you would like to attempt something. I'm trying to think, what did I attempt to draw? Oh, one was a step. So imagine that you're trying to draw a step like this. And you're saying, you know, to get to the top. Not the best. But it comes up at the bottom and it says, did you mean? Now, as it happens, I did a better job when it looked less like steps than that. But, after the bath. But that's exactly what I meant. Now it's got the correct shape, I can scale that, rotate that, do whatever I need to do with it. And you can see they're quite powerful. Now, how good it is depends on how good your drawing is, I would guess. But if I did that, let's see if it can find that for a book. Oh, excellent. And now it's all neat and tidy. You could spend hours, waste hours playing with this, couldn't you? You can, of course, go back into here with your pen, and I will change the colour to a nice gold colour. And you can annotate on that. Now, I think I've still got... Have I got recognition turned on? I thought I had, maybe not. So I can do that with it. And then, when I draw around it, because I want to move it, the text moves with it. So you can do really great diagrams in here, and it will try and automatically recognise those shapes. And it does, I mean, that first one I did as steps. Where it got a bath from, I have no idea. But if you wanted a bath, hey, you'd be really pleased. So I actually think those shapes are a great addition to it. All right, let's move on and go on to... Oh, 3 will do. 3 will do nicely. Right, what else was available from there? I think we've covered everything in there. And I think we've covered everything in there. But we have some extra here where you can do notes. So with this one, text in a note. No, not a night, a note. You can see as you add more text, the text in the note gets smaller. So the emphasis here is on the size of the note, and the text will then scale to fit it. You can, in here, move these around. You've got the duplicate option there, which will make you a copy of the note. You also, so let's double tap that. Once you're in the edit mode, and you can then edit that, so let's put yet more text. Tap on the corner and you've got your note colours. You have one less than Whiteboard. This one doesn't have a purple one, but it does have all of the others. And you can scale that, rotate it, whatever you need to do with it. Thus. Excellent. So we've looked at the notes. Now, if that was it, I think it would be 50-50 as to which one of these apps you actually used. But there is a plus at the bottom. Right, this one gives you a lot of extra options. I'm going to come back to the top ones, I think. Or should I do them in order? No, I'm going to go for these first, because who doesn't love emojis? There are some useful ones, so you may, for whatever the reason, want a hand to point up to your note. You may want something that indicates that something is work in progress. So maybe down the bottom there. Come on. If I zoomed into that and then select it, got it now, I can make that much bigger. So I can have that down the corner of the board, so everybody knows it's a work in progress. You also have, I think the most useful ones here are the thumbs up, thumbs down, and the tick and the cross. You've also got shapes. So you've got some basic shapes. Oh, we're coming on to comics. Look, we have comics. You could rough out your comic. You also have in here those ones there. So these give you the top ones, those give you the bottom. Right, so you've got that. But you have so much more in here. Right, you can, moving back to the top one, do a web search. Now, I'd already done a web search. I had done a web search for Samoyed. And it comes up and says dog. This way, hours are spent with me admiring Samoyed dogs. Got one arriving tomorrow for the weekend. Couldn't be happier. So this actually gives you, allows you to search. So let's say we search and we're interested in that one there. So it gives you some information and you would like to put some of that information in here. Well, you've got this scissor icon at the top. And we've got to have the pictures, haven't we? Got to have the photos. You draw a frame around the bit you want. And there you go. It's straight in your document. You tap on there to lose that, and you have a snapshot of your research straight from within the application. Obviously, there's other ways to do that. You could go and take a screenshot and you could insert that, but much, much easier to do it that way. So that was the web search. Then you've got a search here. Now, that's an image search, a Bing image search. So I thought that one was rather cute. That one there. Let's take him in. That's a biscuit coloured one. Oh, Mike, doesn't that look like our boy? Got to have that one. If there's one looking clean, that does not look like our boy. Oh, that one doesn't look unlike him either. So, again, just really searching for images. Come on, down you go. Back you go out of the way. So these now are images that you can move around as if you'd taken them yourself or whatever. There they are. So, web clippings, images. We've done that one. And we have that one, which is more text. So, text. Done that one as well. The interesting one, I thought, was this one at the top, which is Google Drive. It hooks into Google Drive. Now you're thinking there's just more Samoyed dogs. They're the files that they were the last files I put in my Google Drive before this demo. I'll be using them in the cartoon. You'll see I've taken screenshots today. Basically, like that one's where's my stuff, Amazon. Stuff that I've bought, things like that. And you can just insert them from there. But you can also navigate your drive. What on earth's it done now? I think I've tapped somewhere. Right, so you can navigate your drive. So if I had a file, so I've got some public stuff there that I share. It's having a think about it. Does it not like that? It looks a bit sad, doesn't it? What, do you think there's nothing in it? There's definitely stuff in it. That's better. I think that's what's in it. Is that what's in it? Yes, those are things I've shared publicly. Yes. So that's all the stuff I've shared. Oh, there's the one of the credit card. Do you remember the one when we froze the credit card when we thought Apple might actually bring something out we wanted? That's on my Google Drive. So I will add that file. Oh, and that was my lunch. Oh, and there's Ollie. We've got to have Ollie. That was a fantastic bit of parking outside our house. Yes, that was the pavement. That had to be seen to be believed. That's the pavement. And they thought that was a good place to park. So these are things that I have shared. And they are in my Google Drive. And I have direct access to them. So what Mike and I thought when we came to this stage was, yeah, this is way better. Way better than Microsoft. Which app are we looking at right now? This is Jamboard. It is Jamboard for iOS. That's all the features in there. What I have got up here is I can rename it. So this one wouldn't be Untitled Jamboard. This would be After Hours. It's even auto-corrected for me. And we're up to 34. Rename. And I can add people. Now, that's a different level entirely to what Microsoft could manage. You can actually add individual people to it. You can share via a jam code, which is a great way to share with a lot of people. You can connect to a meeting. So who's heard of Hangouts Meet? Hangouts Meet is Google's version of Skype, really. It's like a conferencing system where you can share your camera, you can share audio, you can share your desktop. Mike and I, for many years, we started off with not what FaceTime. What was FaceTime originally called? iChat. iChat back in the day. We used iChat to do the podcast, and then we moved to Skype. And then we had a real problem one time with Skype, FaceTime, and Discord. None of them would work. So I said, do you know what? Just ring me. Because we record in separate rooms. And we only need to hear each other. Each one is making their own recording. So it doesn't matter. Anyway, we've carried on using that for years and years. That must be easy 3 or 4 years ago. I'll tell you when it was. It was the autumn of 2014. So for 5 years, we've done it that way. The other day we went in and we decided we'd like to see each other while we were recording. We've never done that. So it's really interesting me trying to do a serious piece and Mike sticking his tongue out. And I think I did the same. Anyway, while we were being incredibly grown up and playing around with it, we decided to do it. We needed either Skype or FaceTime or whatever. So we decided, because we changed our calendar, we would use Hangouts Meet. If you'd like to see Hangouts Meet demoed, let us know. So we're there with Hangouts Meet, and all of a sudden I could hear Mike. And I said, have you hooked your microphone up to it? And he went, I've no idea, it's just working. And I went, well, we don't need the call then. So Hangouts Meet is completely free, collaborative tool, and it works brilliantly. So that's what it means when it says connect to a meeting. You can also share the jam as a PDF, and you can share this frame as an image. So let's do the jam as a PDF, and let's save it to files, put it in that demo data, that way we can have a look at it. But we'll also save that frame as an image, and we will save that, hopefully, to files as well. And again, put it in the demo data. Now, you may have noticed what it was calling that. But what I'll do is I'll try and share this with Mike. I'll try and add people. I own it. but I'm going to put Mike in. Oh, go on then. There we go, Mike. And ping it to him. So now we're both using it. I'm an owner and he is an editor. I've given him edit access, but I could restrict him to view access and I can remove his access. I don't think I've got his bot in here though, so he won't be interested with it. So you've got much more control here than you've got with the Microsoft one. That's why we decided to go for it. Right, so let's have a look on the desktop. Oh, there you go. Mike Thomas joined at the top. Are you on the same board as me with all the dogs?
No.
Number 3.
No, I'm on number 2. I'll go to number 3.
Go to number 3 and say hello on the board. He's joined again and he's on. There he is. And you get a little icon, as you can see there, with his face on it as well, in bright pink. Not sure about the bright pink, but there you go. So that, to me, edges it, both in terms of the way that I can access my information. The sharing is fantastic. And the fact that you can hook into these meetings and you do have your interactive whiteboard in a meeting. Glad you're liking that, Charles. It is completely free. We've only seen at the moment the iOS version. But I'm about to show you what the exports look like, and then I'll show you what else you can do with it, because it's fantastic. Let's get that out of the way. Thought it had crashed then, but no, it hadn't. Right, so we were looking at our files. There is the After Hours PDF that I downloaded. So let's double click that. So it should have 3-4 pages in it. Was it 3 or 4 I did, Mike? Have you just deleted page 4?
I'm deleted anything.
In that case, it should be 3. Oh, that's right. Open up
Yeah.
on the wrong page. On the wrong screen, rather. Right, let's bring you back. Come on, toddle back onto this screen. Excellent. So there's the 3. That's the first one I did, where it recognised the text and the shapes. There's number 2 with my beautiful steps of my Harry Potter book. And there's 3 with everything. Now, you can just see, if I zoom in there, you can just see that there is a background. It looks a little bit like paper or a whiteboard in the background there. You can see that line at the top. But now that could be printed from there or shared from there. And it's PDF, so what else could you do with it? I'll let you ponder that while we open up the image one. Right, this one should only be number 3. This is going to open in preview, and that one is going to be just the board. Now I can tell looking at that. Let's have a look what size it actually is. 1920 by 1080. Know what that means? 16:9 ratio. Perfect for slides. Absolutely perfect. Only issue I think with that was, when you think about it, it only let you export 1 frame at a time. And you might want to do more than 1 at a time if you were using slides. But that's good as far as it goes. Nobody said to me, where are those things stored in Whiteboard? Nobody has said to me, where are these things stored with Jamboard? Well, they're all in clouds, luckily. This one is my favourite because a year ago when we were looking at all of this, one of the things we did was change everything in terms of contacts, calendars, address books, you name it. We changed it. It all went over to Google. And that includes Google Drive. So where it says My Drive up here, this is my Google Drive. Yes, it is neat and tidy to within an inch of its life. That file is the only file in root, and it says it's a text edit file. It's not. No, no, no. If I get my browser and I go to my Google Drive in a browser, so let's get my browser back and let's go to Drive. It should tell us that that file is the Jamboard that I have just created. So it'll be down the bottom of the list. There we go. So it's saying last modified by Mike, but it's got an icon next to it telling me that that is a Jamboard. If I do the thing in here where I get the details, it's saying it's Google Jamboard. There's my preview of it and what it was created with, which is Jamboard. Okay. Now, I never leave anything in the root. Oh, Neil, you naughty boy. There's another one to look at. Zoom notes. Oh, you never know. We might come on to that. You never know. Right, what I would do with that is I would tidy it away. How I organise my stuff is going to be a little bit difficult on this screen at this size. But if I open up my drive and I open up application support, I have a folder in there for a lot of different apps. And that is where my files go for that app. So if I grab this Jamboard and throw it in the Jamboards folder, and then navigate to said Jamboards folder, there's the Darth Vader one, there's the document library one, that's the one we've just created. That was the one I used for prep today, and that was a website one. It doesn't matter that I've moved it after the event, and you might be horrified because it might lose itself. No, if I move this, let's lose that. It's quite happy down there on my iPad, not phased in the slightest. And that's what I love about Google Drive. I can move things around, organise things. Now, what I can do while I'm down here, where's the mouse pointer gone? Let's get that back to full screen. Right, last little show for this demo. Come on, trying to get that full screen and it's not playing ball. Now it is. Right, I have here Google Jamboard. Now, tab suspended, it's gone to sleep. I was that long with the demo. But that is jamboard.google.com, which means it can work on any platform that's got a browser on it, including your Chromebooks. So in here, you can choose it. So that's the one we've been working on. And it will open it, and you can work in a browser. So you pretty much got the same tools. So let's go up there and open that. You don't have as many because it's working on the principle you don't have access to a pen. But you've got the same colours, you've got the same 4 pen options. Got the eraser. What's that one there? Oh, that's your pointer. That is your laser pointer. So as long as you don't make people dizzy with it, that's your laser pointer for presenting it. You can also do your sticky notes. So everything almost that you could do on the iOS version, you've got available in here as well. So you can select it, you can make them bigger, you can rotate them. So I would say it's more tactile on iOS. You got your edit, your duplicate, etc. But it's more than usable. So no matter where you are, you can demonstrate it to a client or whatever. And it's like the fact that it's available completely in a browser. And you've also got all of your sharing options up there, so it knows it's shared with one person, etc. And you can do the rename, downloads, save the frames, make copies of it, updates, or anything else. If you wanted anybody to be able to access it, then you can create a Jamboard code and share it. So Jamboard edges it for us. That's sharing it through the meetings is particularly good. Microsoft will get there because they own Skype, but it's not there right now. They're also at the moment having a big push on Teams because every time I turn my Windows machine on, it wants me to log into Teams, and I'm not at all sure which account it wants me to log in with because, again, my Office 365 account probably isn't hooked up to Teams, but it's convinced that it needs to be. So I think Jamboard edges it. But that was looking at Jamboard and Whiteboard. So let's go back into here. And now I've got that thing over the top and I can't see the slides. Oh, joy. Got to love it, haven't you? Right. Let's get on and have a look at our freebies of the week. If you've got any questions about that, throw it in. I'm now going to have a look at Zoom notes. A lot of what I would, not I would do on a whiteboard, but a lot of my thinking and diagramming goes on in GoodNotes or Notability. I think it's just the fact it's a notebook makes sense to me, but it's one and the same. And if I had to collaborate, I would definitely use that. Going to sunset Skype for Business in favour of Teams. Skype for Business never really I don't think people understood the difference. And Teams is great, but your problem with Teams is that you have to have a team. And then you get different levels of service if you have an enterprise level account as opposed to a standard account. But we'll see what happens. I've got an enterprise account to demonstrate it if they go that way. I think it would be handy to put it in normal Skype. But then I don't think Microsoft have ever really completely understood what they had with Skype, because there was that podcasting business. They could have made a fortune charging, just a couple of dollars for a podcast recording session where they made full quality recordings. I mean, Mike and I don't have a problem with it. We've always done it a different way for 12 years. But other people end up with the host in one channel and everybody else in another. And when everybody else is in another channel, it's a nightmare to edit. And Microsoft could have solved that problem and charged a couple of dollars for it. But no podcast host is going to sign up if it's sort of hundreds of dollars. They just want to try it. They never really understood what they had. Anyway, let's get on with the freebies. We have our Creative Market freebies. And this one, there's an interesting one that I think is worth downloading even if you don't have InDesign. So what we've got this time is we've got two fonts. We've got that Homemade Hamburgers font, which is going to be great for our comics. We've also got the Ramland font on the left. There's 3 collections of graphics. So they're along the bottom. But the interesting one I thought this week was the top one, which is the Class Past Memories magazine, which when you download it doesn't have the images in it. They're obviously stock images and they can't include them. But it's an InDesign template. So if you've got access to InDesign, you can use that to unbake the cake, as it were, and see how they've done particular layouts and stuff. Now, if you don't have InDesign, and let's be honest, who wants to pay Adobe for Creative Cloud subscription? So that would be quite understandable. Still worth your while downloading it. Leave it on one side and wait until Affinity Publisher can open InDesign files, and then you can reverse engineer it in there. I think that will be with us within 6 to 12 months. So definitely download the lot. Keep them safe somewhere. But the one I particularly like this week best is this one, which is Amiga Sans. It's a very nice font. Now, the link that Mike's going to put in, it says $10 at the top. Don't click there. Underneath, there is a free version of it. Now, the difference between the paid for one and the free one is the number of different typefaces you get. And I don't think there are any numbers in the free one, which is a problem I've stumbled across before with fonts that I like. But never mind that. You get the idea. It's a very nice font. You can do lots with it, so it's worth having. So there's that one as well. So that's our freebies. So we're all keyed up for our comic creation kit. Part 3 of the Comic Life Replacement project to create images that look like that. Although the thing I'm looking at today isn't on there at all because Comic Life doesn't do it. So we were extending. We are into part 3. Brace yourself for this slide. Halftone patterns. I very briefly gave you an overview last week. This is why halftone patterns are important to comics. All of those have got a halftone on them to some degree or another. The red one has it, so in the middle, the lower red one has it behind a starburst, but there is still a halftone pattern there. So halftone patterns, hugely important in both terms of layout, and if you look behind the POW at the top, also behind actions. So the brief introduction last week, I left you with homework. Now, who did their homework? Who's prepared to admit they did their homework or not? Your homework was to watch the Halftone in Pixelmator video. Come on, it was less than 9 minutes. The idea was, I'm not demonstrating it in Pixelmator, but Pixelmator's a really good way to do it. If you have Pixelmator, and I know Graham uses Pixelmator, Pixelmator's one of the best ways to do it, in my opinion. So that was a good one to start with, but I'm going to show you in other apps. But what I did was explain that halftone, it's all about reducing the complexity, both in terms of the colours, the size of the dots, and the size of the gaps. So in effect, it's using dots, but it's an optical illusion. You see that. So your eye smooths it out, and it's used a lot in comics. So that was the very brief introduction. Now, as I've said, Pixelmator, fabulous with halftone. Affinity, Not bad, but not as obvious, I wouldn't say, as Pixelmator. Not as easy to work with as Pixelmator. I will start with Affinity Photo, but I will have to flick backwards and forwards. It's a pain in the backside, but I will have to flick backwards and forwards for reasons that will become apparent when I start. So let's go off and start. Right, I've just put the camera on the floor. That's why we've got black and not sure what the red is. What's the red? Oh, the red's a cable. Right, let's move that out of the way. That's got rid of that. Excellent. Let's lose some of these apps. AirServer's gone funny. Do I need AirServer anymore? Don't think so. No. Let's get rid of it. It doesn't like me anyway. Okay, so I'm going to start off with Affinity Photo. Halftone in Affinity Photo. Now, obviously, you have to think in terms here of there's more than one type of halftone. What is it you want? Do you want a background? Or do you want to take an image and turn it into a halftone image? So that's the first thing to think about. Now, don't forget way back when, which was part 1 in our comic in Affinity Publisher, what we were actually doing was we're going to create a full comic. When week by week, it's like one of those part works. Week by week, we'll be creating the assets and then we'll take a couple of weeks to put them together in a full comic. So we had got as far as that, if you recall, with our gradients. But one of the things with it, even that one looks a lot better because that looks like it has a halftone on it. Now, it's not a proper halftone. It's stretched and morphed. But it looks more comic-ish with a pattern than it does like that, which is very plain. And ultimately, we want our halftone in Affinity Publisher. Now, if we go and have a look at things in here, like our layers, we do have adjustment layers and things like that, but Affinity Publisher is there for final layout. Now, I know we've got Studio Link, and Studio Link is fantastic, but I'm going to simplify this demo considerably, and I'm going to just start in Photo, otherwise it'll get far too complicated. So there's 2 specific things that we are looking at from the beginning, which is, do we want a background or do we want to turn an image into halftone? Now, while it seems nonsensical to do it this way, I'll do it with an image first because there are things in here that will help. So I'm going to get an image of a dog, one of the dogs we saw earlier. I've got 5 of these images, so I started with this one. So I have an image of a dog that I want to include in the comic. There's the dog. Now, I could put that in a comic, and as long as I had a background that looked okay, and I framed it okay, and I put maybe a speech bubble, it would look all right. But ultimately, it's a photograph, and it looks like a photograph. So how do we turn that into a halftone? My poor machine. It's not coping well in the heat. Right, I am attempting here, there we go, to get a background, a copy of the background. You have 2 options when it comes to halftone. Now, if you get lost completely, just go to help and type half, and it will show you the 2 menu options. One is in layer, new live filter layer, blah, 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 and the other is in filters, colors, halftone. Let me know in the chat which one I should use. You should know by now. One of them is destructive and one of them is not destructive. So always go for the non-destructive if possible. Now you might say, well, you've already duplicated the background, so it doesn't matter. Up to a point, no. But if I use filters, colours, halftone, where have you gone? Where have you gone? There you are. Right, now this is the problem with halftone in anything but Pixelmator. It looks rough, really rough. It's like, what do I need to do to make that look normal? Well, let's say that you wanted it black and white and you were happy to have it look like that. Let's move that more like that. Take the contrast down a bit. Yeah, like that. And you think that's okay, that looks fine, and you click apply. You have applied it to that layer. There's nothing you can do now. You can't go back and change your mind when the memo comes from the client, why is this black and white, I wanted it colour. You've edited the actual layer. So even though I can toggle it off and go back to the original, I can't edit that. I've got to start again. So that's why we don't do it. Let's put that in the bin and let's duplicate that one again. You always, if you find yourself going to filters, don't. Go to layer and have a look in the new live filter layers to see if what you're about to do has a version in here, and Halftone does. Looks exactly the same, still hideous, but right, your first decision is in the screen. Do you want it monochrome? Do you want it colour? Do you want it line? Or do you want it circular? Well, you've probably not got a clue. Obviously, monochrome makes it black and white. Colour makes it colour. Line gives you lines. That is not a good look. And then there's circular, which is an even worse look. Now, those looks can be used effectively. We'll start off with the monochrome, as you've seen. You need to specify a cell size, and sometimes bigger is better, but to be honest, not often. So I would take that right down so you can make out that it's a dog. Then there's the contrast, which as you take the contrast down to nothing, it just makes the image black and white. As you take it up the far end, you've got too much of a pattern on it. You're probably going dizzy. So you need some kind of compromise between the two where you get the dot effect. You can make out the outline, but you don't overdo it. Now, the grey and the undercolour removal are not available when you've selected monochrome. But you can change the angle, because with that at 0 degrees, if we zoom in, it's all very square. Whereas if we start to change the angle, it starts to look more like a comic. Comics tend to be at an angle. So even that makes a difference. Right. Now you can change the blend mode, which would have an impact on the fact it's black and white. Because as you go through this, what it's doing is taking the result of the settings in the live halftone dialog box and applying a blend mode with them. So you do get, in the background, a kind of comic effect on it. Not a particularly great one, but you get the idea. Now, don't think that you have to do that to be able to use colour. You don't. I'm just pointing out that, you know, the blend mode option is there, as is the opacity. Now, because we have a background to it, changing the opacity, the background is the original image. Because we have that, it does give you a comic effect and a sort of colour change as well. But obviously, this is non-destructive, so you might not have that background layer. But you can change that if you need to. Right, at that point, I'm just going to close the dialog box and say I'm done with that. That is a black and white halftone of the dog. At which point the client comes back and says, well, that's all very well, but I wanted it colour. Right, that's the beauty of the live filter. That layer, which is embedded within your image, which you can turn off, if you double click it, is completely editable. To the point, you can change the screen to colour. And you can see what it does to the colour. It's much brighter than the original image. To do with the contrast, you are bumping the contrast up very high. So what you need to do is play around with it until you get it to the size that you want it for the artwork that you're working with. And now the grey and the undercolour removal have come into it because it's colour. So if I take it up, it goes much darker. At that end, there's no grey at all. So I might want that a little bit darker. And the undercolour removal takes the colour out from below the pattern. So, like I said, a case of having a play around with it until you get the exact look that you're looking for, including taking this round. So I tend to have it around 45, 30 degrees, something like that. You can even change the type of dot, which won't make a jot of difference unless you can actually see it. So you can have really round dots, or the cosines, which are, I would say they're more blurry, but it might give you a better look. I mean, that doesn't look as good because if you look at the eyes, you can see that they are circles, whereas if you change it to cosine, it's sort of lying on top of it and you can see more of the background, so it gives you a better image. But it's going to depend on the image. Image by image, that will change. And again, you've now got a colour background. So just a case of going in and changing that to what you want it to be. Now the line one, you might be thinking, never, 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 never. But you might if you wanted it. So let's have a look with the cell size. We certainly don't want it that big, but if we take that down, so it's very, very small. Can we get that down to 10? Nope, doesn't like 10. Can't see it at 10. Can at 12. How about 11 then? Right, the effect that you're creating there, when you zoom into it, is like lines, scan lines on a TV. So with a bit of playing around with it, zoom in a bit, changing of the contrast, you could use that on an image that you want to look like it's on a screen. Now, I have done that kind of demo. I tell you what, I will do it next week. Mike, put that down for a demo next week. Scan lines. Remind me. I've done it where I make it look like you take a screenshot which looks absolutely pristine, but you don't want it to look like that in a photograph where you're trying to take a photograph of a screen. So if you remember that mock-up that I did for the magazine that got printed, and I tidied up the screen by putting one on it, I did not put any lines on it, but if I was going to be pedantic, I would. So that's something you can do with it. And the other option is circular, and that's only going to look good in certain circumstances. That actually reminds me of a book by Sylvia Plath, The Bell Jar, I think it was called. And on the front of it, there's that kind of hypnotic circle. But again, depending on what you're doing with it, that might be just the look that you need. I think for this image, trying to make it a cartoon, I'd want it colour. I would up the contrast. I might make that a little bit bigger. Maybe not. And I'd want that up to sort of 30 or 45. Let's try 30 on that and zoom into the dog. Not bad, not bad. Maybe about there. There is enough of a halftone on that it now looks like a cartoon without it looking that bad that I can't see it. Now, if you compare that to what we actually started with, this is one of the features of Affinity Photo that you actually do need to tweak that dialog box quite considerably to get something usable. I have no idea. Let's just toggle that one off. And we will duplicate that one again. I have no idea with that what kind of image would look great with those default settings. None in my lifetime. And that was the problem when people started using Affinity Photo, especially if they'd come from Pixelmator, because Pixelmator was just fabulous. And that less so. That's not good. The cell size is too big, so take it down so you bring back some of the detail. The fact it's black and white and the fact that it's at 0 degrees doesn't help. So I'm not sure at all. I wouldn't have started with it in colour and just made the cell size smaller. Even if you'd have had a cell size of 20, it would have looked better than the default figures. So just ignore the defaults and use the settings that make sense for the image that you're working with. Right, that's taking an image and applying halftone to it. But that might not be what you want. Now, it will be what you want in terms of with some of the photographs maybe. But if you think about it, let's go back into the Prezzo. I didn't do that with any of the images because I wanted the photographs to look like photographs. It was a way of showcasing, I think there was about 15 pages of photographs. I don't think they'd have taken kindly, to be honest, to me tweaking them in that kind of way. So it wasn't appropriate for that, but it would be appropriate for other things, particularly like comics. Right, where are we up to now? I think I can't see properly. I think we came out to that bit. Excellent. Right, so that's the first thing. But the next thing you might want to do Let's get a new file, and that just happens to be 1280 by 720. The next thing you might want to do might be to create a background for a comic. Now, 1280 by 720, if you think right back to part 1, I looked at 3 applications to create this in. Affinity Designer, Affinity Publisher, ably assisted by Affinity Designer, and Keynote. Now, if you're doing this for Keynote, for a video, then you're going to want it 1280 by 720. But if it's going as a background in Publisher, it probably needs to be A4. So if I say New, and I go for Print, and I go for A4, and I go for Portrait, that's probably a better bet. There we go. Now, what if I just want halftone there on the page? You can do that as well. There's a few tricks for doing that. So I'm drawing out a shape, a rectangle there, and I'm going to give that rectangle a fill. So let's go for system colours because it's a nice orange. It's a nice comic-y colour. Now, obviously, at this point, there's nothing else there. So you might think, well, if I apply a halftone to it, what's it going to do? Well, let's have a look. Let's go into the live filter layer, go down to colours and halftone. And it does pretty much the same. In fact, when you look at that, that shows you, without any distractions behind it, what it actually did with the dog. It just banged that on the top of it. Now, it's monochrome, so we can make it colour and bring the colour back. That's looking much better already. The cell size at 50 is far too big. So let's take that down a bit. Now, what size that should actually be is going to depend on what it looks like at 100%. What scale are we at? Well, it's definitely not 100%. My screen is reduced to 1600 by 900. And you'll notice when I zoom in, it looks very different. So if I zoom in with 0, it shows me everything. But if I zoom in with Command and 9, that shows me what that looks like at 100%. So basically, what do you want it to look like at 100%? Right, I'm going to leave it around the 15 mark because, to be honest, we just want to see it. In fact, I might need it a little bit bigger so you can see what's going on. Right, that's given me a halftone. That's all I need to do. I can change the colour of it. So if I'm in my rectangle, I change the colour. I'm going to get a completely different effect just by changing the colour. So that's one thing I can do. But, oh dear me, that's very 80s, isn't it? Let's get rid of that. That's more of a comic-y colour. And that would do as it is. So I could actually copy that, go into Publisher. It's already A4, so let's add a couple more pages in. Let's add 4 pages after page 4. It's used a background, but I'm not going to worry about that. Let's go on to page 5, which is that one there. Okay, put it on that one. And there you go. You have a background page. Now, you might be looking at that and thinking, whoa, that's too much. It probably is. Let's turn off that. And what you could do with that is you could change the opacity. So you could do that. But don't forget, it's going to be covered, the majority of it is going to be covered with a layout, which I thought we had in here. If we did, I've put them somewhere else. There's a layout. What we did with that was we made, that's a frame, if you recall. That's a frame. So if we put our frame on the top of there, and then we get an image. So this is a completely different image. And try putting that in the frame, although having said that, the image is quite big. And the machine is melting. It's having a think about it. It'll either do it or it won't. I'll give it a couple of seconds to think about it. But basically, you would end up with just the edges. So that's one thing that you can do with that. I'll leave it thinking about it, hopefully, while I go back into here. So I'm back in Affinity Photo. Because there's other things that you can do. So with that, I'm going to duplicate it just so I can call that original. All right, I'm going to make some changes. Now, this is just using features Affinity Photo already has with halftone. Back into the layers and back into live filter. What have we got in the way of distortions? Well, we have pinch and punch, and pinch and punch are your friends. It is a bit busy as a background, you're quite right. But you see, if I don't make it busy enough, you're not going to be able to see this effect. So I'm applying pinch and punch to the halftone, hopefully. Oh yes, there we go. There it is. So let's increase the radius. And if you look what you've got in the middle. Now, when I did this in rehearsals, Mike said I'm feeling dizzy. But I have pinched and punched in the middle. So now you can see you've basically distorted the halftone that you've got. So that one is a pinch in. If you punch it and bring that up, it kind of comes up towards you. That's not a good look. That is not a good look. Let's go back the other way. But the other thing you can do, as I move my mouse pointer in the middle, which you probably can't see, and it disappears. So let me try and get it in a good spot. You look at the mouse pointer. It is an arrow, and underneath it, there's a line. Now, when it shows you that, it means you can move around the effect. So if I wanted it at the edge, I could do that. In fact, if I turn off the background layer, you can see what's actually happening with this. It's distorting the edge to such a point, the edge is coming in out of the way. So if you wanted that to look like that for some particular reason, you can do that. Or you can leave it in the middle, just distorting it slightly. So really just ways that you can alter your halftone. Now, when you say it's busy for a background, it is, but you are not limited to using that as a background. So let me save that file because we're going to need to come back to it, and if I don't, it'll crash. I wonder if it's actually opened that other thing yet. Let's put this on the desktop, lest anything else happens to it. And we'll call that A4 halftone. Excellent. Right, now, let's have a look to, oh, that's the original. What happened in Publisher? Did it ever appear or not? Did it? No, it didn't. It opened it in its own window. Fabulous. Let's see if it'll let me copy it and paste it into there. Oh, it's upset. I think I've run one app too many. There's always one, isn't there? I don't know what I ran yesterday, but yesterday my escape key stopped working. Right, it's selected. No, I wanted you to paste inside the frame. Come on, let's put you inside the frame. So let's double click on move you around. Am I moving you? There we go. So he's in the frame. So you can cover the background up a lot and only have it at the corners. Excellent. Right. Let's forget Publisher. Let's forget Photo. Let's really upset the machine and run another one. Let's run Designer. Because what type of halftone have we looked at so far? Who's still awake and who can tell me what type of halftone we have looked at? How would you categorise it? We've done it on an image, we've done it on a background, but what type of halftone is it? There's a question. I could close some of these windows down in my browser. That might excite it less. Anybody got any idea? How would you categorise that halftone? Should give you a clue because I have gone into Designer. What does Designer do that Photo doesn't? Well, while I've had a drink, nobody knows the answer to that. Okay. The halftone. Ah, excellent, Charles. Yes, raster halftone. You will have noticed, if you actually looked at the edges of it, it was mighty blurred. Halftones are supposed to be, but not when you're zoomed into that degree, maybe. So the other type of halftone, let me get a page here, is vector halftone. So just imagine that you've got a shape. What have we got in here? A nice star one. That would do. Right, excellent. Now, I want to fill that with halftone. No chance. Doesn't do it. So, you've got a problem. Or have you? Well, you can fake it to a certain degree, but it's missing. It's not in here. Well, how would you fake it then? Because you can't do it. How could we fake it? There's a few ways to fake it. A few weeks back, let's test Mike. Let's see if he can find it. I did patterns, and I said you could use the vector patterns as a fill. Well, if that pattern was a halftone, that'd work. So maybe Mike can find the week that I did that. He's gone a funny colour now. But it wouldn't have been made for a halftone. We made a dotted pattern, but it was quite fiddly. We'd need something faster. Well, here's a way to do it faster. Get the pen tool and draw a line. So I have literally just drawn a line. If I zoom into that, you can see it. There it is. It is a black solid line. Not impressive. What we'd need to do is to change this into a vector halftone. So we can vector halftone fill our shape. Right. With a stroke, you have the stroke dialog, which is either available from the context-sensitive toolbar of the pen tool or in the stroke panel over there. They are one and the same. Before you do anything, 9 times out of 10, scale with object. If you don't, it'll go crazy. You could do with rounded caps, and you're going to need it thicker than that.
31.
31, excellent. Episode 31. Make a note of that, Mike.
Well,
was it only 31? No, it can't be. It must be longer ago than that. It was the one. It was the one with the red dots.
Oh.
No, it was before that, Mike. So I've made that a little bit thicker so we can actually see it. Let's make it 20. Rounded caps. Now the trick is in the properties in here, but did you know it's easier to do it from up here? Because when you are up here, she said manfully, what is going on? Why is that not working? No, I definitely don't want that. Let's escape that and do that again. Excellent. It should be in there. You are not in there. Why are you not in there? Ah, right. I need to change it to a dashed line style, which is there. So if I'd have gone into my first one and done that, I would get these extra options at the bottom. Now, obviously, at the moment, they look like sausages, and that doesn't look like a halftone pattern either. But you have 4 boxes here. If you put a 0 in the first one, you'll notice they go to circles. Now, you have to have a play around with this. Was it that one? And then take away that one and that one? No, it wasn't. I had them next to each other. So I had 0, 1, 0, 0. And that gave me that. Let's try putting a 1 in there. What I'm looking for is a gap. No, it's not doing it. Never mind. I want that anyway. Right, so I've got half a pattern. Then I duplicate that. So copy and paste puts it on the top. Now, obviously, if you do it like that, you've got a very straight pattern. But if you move it slightly, you start to create a halftone. So I'm going to duplicate that, move it down, and take it back one. In fact, no, I'm not. What I'm going to do is get the 2 of them because they are about right. You can see they are creating a pattern. They are about right. So I will duplicate them and pull them down and move them. So move it back. Perfect. And now power duplicate, which is Command and J. There we go. So I have some sort of halftone pattern. Now, selecting the lot, what I can do is change the size of them. See what happens when I change the size of them? But I definitely need to group them. So Command and G to group them. At that point, I have a vector halftone pattern. And I look like I have, but I do. So I'm copying it and I'm going to that object there. Don't know, because this isn't talked about much, but I remember talking about it as soon as Affinity Designer came out. You have some options at the top here. Insert behind the selection, insert on the top of the layer, or insert inside the selection. That one is your friend in this case. So I've copied it and I'm now going to paste, and it's pasted it over there. But it doesn't look like it's done it right. It's pasted it exactly where it was. In fact, you know what? I'm going to do that again, and this time I'm actually going to cut it so it disappears. So cut to the pattern, click on the star, make sure that inside is there, and paste. And it's back where it was, but you can't see it. And you can't see it because if you look over here what's gone on, the group down there is your pattern, and it's inside the star. So you would need to bring that across. And now you can rotate it and you've got a fake halftone. Obviously, not the best colour for a halftone, but you have faked a halftone. You can scale that. That's why I made sure that I put scale with object, so I can scale it and rotate it to my heart's content, including changing colours of it. So in here, where I've got all of my lines, I could change the colour of it. So I could go into here and making sure I've got them all. Where are we? There we go. So I can make it look more cartoony, but actually that's a nightmare. I mean, I can scale it right down, and you can see, you'd have to zoom in to see it, but now I've got a really, really, really tiny pattern. Not fantastic, to be honest, but that's one way to fake it. There is another way to do it. This one's a little bit better, which is you've done half the work. You've done half of the work in Affinity Photo. On the A4 halftone, replete with pinch and punch. That object there is just as copyable, so copy into a designer, making sure we are pasting into, and paste. Obviously it's huge by comparison to this, but somewhere in there, as I'm zooming out, that's the size of it. Let's take that down. Hopefully we can still see it. And let's bring that in. And we now have a halftone pattern inside, which we can still rotate. There we go. So you could do that. Now you've got to remember, doing it that way, that's not a vector halftone. Vector halftone might be the holy grail, but it does not do it right now. But there's a couple of alternatives. So we've actually already done the last bit, which is we've already taken it into Publisher and we've used it as a background. No, it's not the best, and what I would be looking to do with it is use it in a way more like that, where I've got a much bigger pattern and I've got something else going on with it. But what we've managed to learn to do is the entire halftone bit. So we're in front. We're in front. Right, let's head off over here. I think I could be, you'll like this, I think I could be a slide missing. Oh no, I'm not. I'm not. Last week, I have sat here for a week because I didn't have time to do the unboxing, so I'm going to make up for it tonight. Which means I need my camera back. Oh, let me move everything. Do love an unboxing. Right, let's move everything and get my camera back. Actually, it's been that long, I've no idea what I'm unboxing. Mind you, you know, that's the way I like it. Like, where's the camera gone? Oh yes, you went, I put you on the floor, didn't I? Let's bring you back. Get you on the desk. There, I think you're just about in the right spot. So let's put that there and stretch it out. Hello. Right, move the keyboard. Oh, first one, yes, that. Ordered 3 of these. They were on offer, what can I say? I've discussed these before, and the last time I showed you, people got very, very giddy. Oh, there's a question. Would it be breach of copyright to use halftones generated by Comic Life? You may struggle to do that to get them out of it. Same with the fonts. You can have the fonts in PDFs, but when I enter, and they work brilliantly, so you could print them, but when I tried to put the PDF in Publisher, didn't like it. So I'd read the license terms very careful with that. You can probably get to them in the package, couldn't you? But I think that would breach the license. So the last time you saw these, orders went in. They are not expensive. And the ones I got were even cheaper than normal. I've got extra because we had a very near calamity. I'll explain the calamity. The calamity was we were heading out the door, and I've got 2 laptops, and each one uses different dongles. And could we find the right dongle? No. So I'm going to leave one packed. So it's one of these bags with all these things inside, but this was £3.50. At Amazon, they're about £8. This, I did have to wait for it to arrive, but I think last time when I showed you, I'm sure somebody got one. Another calamity that I had was this here. That there, if I can just show you, let's go into it. There we go. Oh, it's sealed now, it's the other way. It holds an SD card. And if I'd have had the foresight to put an SD card in it, a little spare 32 gig one, I wouldn't have not had one in my camera, would I? Not saying more than that. iPhone to the rescue. So while I thought that was pretty useless, actually I can see me putting one in it this time. So do we have a packed one, Mike? We do, don't we? Exactly the same. Oh look, dog fur. Lola's been. This is the packed one that's missing one thing, which I do believe is on Mike's desk. There we go. There's all sorts in there. Absolutely all sorts.
What's on my desk?
Isn't it at the back of your desk, or did you put it away?
I've packed it away.
Oh, he's packed it away. Good grief. Wonders will never cease. I'll never find it now.
I know where it is.
Oh, good. That's good. So this is one that's packed for when I give presentations. It's got a couple of extra things in it that I haven't actually put in proper places yet. That is an audio cable thing, so I can have headphones and a charger plugged in at the same time. Got a fistful of these. So that's what it looks like packed. And they were the princely sum of £3.50 each. So I decided I would have some packed for the office, which that one is. But I would get some, there's more Lola fur. I'd have some extras. So that was what I got those for. Oh, my other one that I've waited since last week is this one. This was on the Amazon, what's it called, Prime Day saley thing. The reason that I decided to buy one rather than get another make was I already have 2 of them, and you need an app to make these work on your phone. And I realised when I had another brand I needed a different app, and I thought I'm not having a different app every time I need to access one of these things. So I decided I would get the same brand as the brand that we already had. So hopefully this will work fantastically well over the weekend. There it is. In fact, I might be able to show... You're not going to see much at the minute, are you? But I might be able to show you this. Live, as it were. It is an IP camera. I've got 2 of those, and they work brilliantly. Is the one in the kitchen pointing outside at the moment?
Yeah. And
where's the other one? Is it in the hall?
Well, the one in the hall, the swivels. And the other one's in the front room.
Well, you're not going to see anything out there at the moment. I'll show you this anyway. It would work better in daylight.
Shall I go and stand outside and wave?
No, it wouldn't work because it's dark, so it's gone on infrared mode. And because it's behind glass, it just kind of sees a reflection of itself, unfortunately. I've got some screenshots. Oh, this isn't good. It's not sellotaped, but it's pretty tricky to get out. Oh, for crying out loud. How are you supposed to get these things out of here when they don't come out? Now, you see, an Apple one, it's by gravity, isn't it? No, it's not doing it. Crying out loud. I know, I'm getting there. Excellent, excellent. So they're quite neat and tidy. They can go on a wall. Mine won't be. There's a screw plate behind there, which will let you put it on a wall. And then this thing, that's the camera. So I would have mine stood up like that, looking out of the window or pointing down at the dog. But you can have it upside down on a ceiling, looking that way, and all kinds of things. So it's pretty neat and tidy. It works on Wi-Fi, so it only needs a power cable at the back, which comes with it. The other ones we've got are hardwired. They just did not like playing with the Wi-Fi. This one does like playing with the Wi-Fi, so I will put it on the Wi-Fi. But we only need one app with it. So I can show you the app. Where's that gone? Have I got it on here? I think I've got it on an iPad. I'm just not sure which one. Let's have a look, see if it's on this one. Oh, it is. So you see, I've already got two on here. I've got the NetView app up there. And I've got the HiCam app there. The HiCam one might work. I thought, have we only got one camera with that? I've only plugged one in. Got three, haven't we? Oh, that's not playing ball at all at the moment. Jolly good. That's what I like. Oh, don't tell me you want me to log in. You want me to log in. Oh, hang on, no, it's not too bad. Will you take a fingerprint and be done? I probably haven't logged in for a while because I tend to use it on the Alexa. Now, I do have one at the front door. What I do at the front door is when the Amazon man, I usually get a ping on my watch from the Amazon man, and he'll say I'm 8 stops away. And I'll be like, jolly good, and I'll turn my camera on and I'll wait for him, and then I can go and greet him. So you can see there, that one says Lola Cam. And you'll see there's Lola's bed. And there's Lola's food, but Lola's not here at the moment. So what that is, it's not the actual picture from the camera. It's a still that is in it. Across it says Lola Cam. That one says front door, and all you can see is the reflection of the camera because it was taken at night. The last time I accessed it was at night. So what you see when you get in there is the last image that was taken. We had great fun when we were out last weekend with Lola. I turned the camera on and I said, I can't see her. So just as the choir burst into song, I tapped the microphone and she obviously could hear the choir singing and she came bounding down the stairs. So basically it's another one of those. We'll be extending the network with that. So I waited a whole week because I said I would unbox it and I didn't get the chance to unbox it. So there we go. That one will be going in tomorrow probably. Let's put that over there. Hopefully not an issue now because I've already installed two. So I've already got everything that's needed there. Right, let's get that out of the way and get onto this one. Obviously this one's got a battery in it. Exciting, exciting. These are interesting. Michael will like a couple of these. He'll like, let's start off with that one. That one was also in the sale. That's a power bank, which I already have quite a few of. But when I leave the house, my phone is so bad at the minute, I can guarantee I'll need to charge it at least twice while I'm out. That one has got on it, what was the power of it? I think it's something like 2580. So 25,800, which is probably the most powerful that I've got. For the princely sum of £13. Now, how it ended up at £13, because the proper price was 36, it was on offer. And before it was on offer, it said these offers are coming on tomorrow. And I was scouting around and having a look, and there was another 30% off it. And of course, the 30% comes off the full price. So I decided I would go for it. Let's see how it behaves. If things don't behave, they get sent back. But that's actually quite light for what it's supposed to do. So it has on it, let's have a look. It has an in the middle and two USBs, 2 outs. It has a button on the top, so it's about 25% charge, which is about what people said in the reviews it would be. So I'll get that fully charged and test it. One of the things I can test it with, they do come with piddly little cables. Piddly little cables, that's far too short. One of the things I'll be testing it with, who's got an Apple Watch? Let me know in the chat if you've got an Apple Watch.
Me.
I know you have.
It's dead.
Have you killed it?
Mm.
Oh dear, mine's not. But it's not far off, it'll need charging for tomorrow. The cables are horrifically expensive. So I don't think I even bought a spare. I had the first Apple, the second Apple Watch, and the third Apple Watch, and the fourth Apple Watch. So between us, we've got 3 cables. But this came on offer. Usual price is £30 for an Apple one, and I wasn't paying it. But this one was £12, and as you can see, it does both, which is the first time I've ever seen one of those. It's only 1 metre long, but it charges your phone and your watch. So I thought that'd be a good thing to take with me when I go away, instead of dismantling the kitchen. Sorry, the bedroom. The bedroom's where I've got the charging cable for that. So let's have a look and see if it'll charge. Because we can check that, can't we? We can check it from that power block. If it doesn't, that's a bad demo. Right, let's have a look. Right, move that one out of the way. Open up that. Not too bad. Looks all right. Grey cable. How does that compare with the original? That actually looks about the same size as the original, because a lot of the replacements are way bigger. That one that I've got there, I think that is the original. I've got one to the side of me and one in the bedroom because that's all I've got. Let's have a look. Is your watch totally dead?
Totally.
Oh, good. You can take it off and give it me then. Right, let's try it on here. That looks more than 1 metre long. It might not be. It looks mighty long to me.
Totally done.
Okay, and now we've got Mike's Apple Watch as well. Okay, so we will plug that into there. Turned on. Put that flat there. Should we see if it'll charge a phone while it's at it? Let's attach that. Well, it's turned on and it's charging. So I'm prepared to declare that a success. Where did I put... I need something to charge. That'll do. We have here... Oh, look at this antique. Antique. That's an iPod Touch. Let's see if it will charge. Yes, battery charging. Fantastic. So I paid, I think it was £12 for that. Usual price somewhere in the 20s. I will let you know how long it takes to charge.
I could have one of those.
You could. You could. You see, Mike's got his eye on it now.
You could get me one.
I could get you. I'll wait till it's on offer, shall I? Right, so that's one. That's all charging and everything. That's not bad from that, is it?
Maybe it'll come on offer next week.
And the last thing that I'd got in here is a little speaker, which was the princely sum of £5. And I thought, you know what? Sophia are a good make. I've had their stuff before. Headphones. Standard things, not lightning headphones, just standard ones. So I thought £5, not bad at all. So it's a little Bluetooth speaker. Just looks better than those ones that are sort of plasticky. Let's get it out. And we've got cables there as well. So here's hoping it looks as decent as it did in the picture. Oh yes, that looks rather nice. So there we go. So I'm thinking you would put that at the back of it. Oh look, you can see me. There we go. So speaker on the top, weirdly on off underneath, which is fine. I wonder if there's any power in it. There is. There we go. Ooh, let's play something. So let's get it the right way up. I've lost the device. Let me try and get my device. Here's a spare device. That's still going on with itself. So let's get it attached to the Bluetooth. And what shall we play? So it comes up as an A2 down here. So tap on the A2. That sounds like it's got it. Yep, I think that's done. I know what we'll play, Mike. Can't be done for that, can we? Probably. Oh, we'll play a MacBites. That'll work. So, oh, come on. That'll be you're tired as well. Right, let's go into a browser. MacBites. We could find Mike's bot. Graham would want copyright then.
Episode 68, isn't it?
Was it 68? Okay, I'll find it. I'll go get 68. No. Shows. Come on.
If you Google Mike's Bot, it comes up top.
As if people would... Do you know, actually, people might be. You're quite right.
No, it's episode 94.
90.
Don't know where I got 68.
There he is. There he is. Right. So, we should just be able to tap play, and it should play. See how it sounds. Hello and welcome to MacBites, episode 94. I'm Elaine Giles and I'm here with my co-host Mike Thomas. In this episode, red card for iPads, multi-screen madness, and Mike's Bot. I know, don't ask, just don't ask.
Yeah, and a classic from...
There we go. Oh, that worked, that sounded all right. Do you have, we actually play it then?
Week, who, if you remember, sent us a link to the OneNote team's parody from Les Miserables, what should we say?
Oh, don't start with the teeth so early, dear.
Les Mis.
Yes, I do recall, much to the chagrin of your teeth.
Yes, Alex said, oops, sorry, I just posted you a OneNote parody again. If you Google Graham Bot, it comes up top as well.
Oh, I'm looking for it. I'm wondering where it is in the show.
Near the end, probably.
Is it? No, it says Alex is starting to lose it. Oh, maybe it was right at the end. No, we've got a Jonathan's Love Bite in that episode. Norman Collier's broken microphone. Do you know he doesn't actually mention Mike's Bot? Oh, how shocking. It's there somewhere. You'll have to go and listen to it. But it actually sounds pretty good. I'll turn it up a bit. People might think if you're inside a stadium and you sat down, what on earth do you need to take an umbrella for? This is going to come as a shock to the uninitiated. The roof leaked. No joking. They had this roof built. It cost millions, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it leaked. Not bad. Not bad at all. Yeah, it's not bad sound for a £5. And let's just stop that. And it doesn't look bad either. Let's bring it up again. It's metal on the outside. Weirdly, there's plus and minuses and stuff on the bottom. Why you'd have that on the bottom, I don't know. But I wouldn't be interested because I'd be using it on a phone. So, yes, that's very nice. Very shiny. Shiny and nice with a blue light on it. So, there we go. Unboxing time. And Mike's watch is happier. Let's bring it in. There it is. It's happier. That's still charging. So, can we see? No, he's got it in night mode stuff. So I can't tell you how charged it is from flat, but I can see that it's in the red. It's probably charged about 5%, which isn't bad in a couple of minutes, is it? Excellent, excellent. So we are all unboxed. Let's get back into here. And we're back next week. Same time, same place. In the meanwhile... does it have a microphone? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Let's have a look. Yes, it does. I'll find the link and I'll put the link in. But yes, I think it does. It also has a card slot. So definitely well worth a £5. Right, what was I saying? Oh, well, yes, next week. Same time, same place. In the meanwhile, you can subscribe for first news of these events. The MacBites list gets it, and so does my VIP list. My VIP list gets other stuff too. So if you want to subscribe, feel free. We also have, because people wanted to get in touch with us, you can get in touch with us at all those places. All of them. We need a MacBites.
We do.
Well, there was the 1st of March, the 1st of July, so when's it due? October. 1st of October. Can we make a rash promise?
Sounds like my dental appointments.
Yeah.
Interval.
Can we make a rash promise and say it'll be before the 1st of October?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometime in September, like the 30th. No, we will. We will. We've been rather busy, as you can see, but we will. And in the meanwhile, you can listen to the old ones like Mike's Bot. It would work for a conference, yeah. I'll try it. I'll try the microphone. If there is one, let's have a look. Is the one I thought there was? Doesn't say. It says what's included in it. Register it at, blah, blah, blah. Does just say speaker. Oh, there's a manual. I'm going to have to look at it. Oh, this is no good. Hang on. Oh, user manual. Whoa. It's about 1.5 inches square, which means I'm going to need glasses. Hang on, what does that say? Multifunction speaker button, status indicator, play, pause, answer, end call. Yes, it has a microphone. If you can end the call, it must have a microphone on it. So it'll be in there somewhere. I will have a play with it and I will report back. I've also got an unboxing that I did. Couldn't wait for that one, I'm afraid. So I videoed it. But I decided once I'd unboxed said item, I would do a full review of it. So that one's pending. Isn't it nice when we're planning ahead? Jolly good, Dad. Jolly good. So we're about to head off. What have we got to eat, Mike?
Fruit.
Joy. Fruit again. Is it nice fruit?
Yes.
Is it a big collection of fruit?
Yes.
So I've got strawberries and blackberries and blueberries.
Yes.
And bananas.
Yes.
Okay then.
And
That's much better.
great.
Good night, John. Oh yes, grapes. I have to have at least 2 different types of grapes, don't I?
Yeah.
Sometimes there's 3. We're spoilt, really. So come on, Graham. What are you having to eat? In fact, anybody else? Graham shares. Is anybody else about to go and have something to eat? Because I know for some of you it's going to be breakfast. Here it is latish. It is 20 to midnight. So it'll be fruit and bed. Because we've got a busy day tomorrow with Lola. Lola's coming to stay. We are so blessed. We are very, very lucky. Her family are going on holiday and we're not, so we get the dog. It's a timeshare thing. It works well for both of us. She's adorable. Last week she slept through the show.
Fruit and Bakewell.
Fruit and a Bakewell. Is it a big Bakewell or a small Bakewell? I need to get Graham a Bakewell. He needs to try them and let us know from Slattery's and Bromley Farm. Yeah, Bromley Farm. They've moved on from the Bakewell, though. They have now got some kind of fudge thing. You are very welcome, Neil. I hope you enjoyed it. We all need a Jamboard session, don't we? Oh, I think that thing's disconnected. It's got itself upset. Wasn't talking to it for long enough and it's nodded off. Yeah, we need to share a Jamboard and see if we can. Don't we?
Yeah.
The Jamboards are very cool. Yeah. They are very cool. Small like in the teddy pick. Oh, your teddies look after your Bakewells. Yeah, that other one's possibly a little bit too big, isn't it? People were very over-faced when we went there. But we're planning another trip. We're planning a Christmas cuppa and a cake at Bramley Farm.
Croissants for me.
Croissants.
That must be because it's breakfast.
Do you know, it's years since I had a croissant. I used to love croissants. We went down to, I went away with my mum and dad when I was very young. And we went to this place where they had one of these breakfast bars, so you could have whatever you wanted. So Dad was like, oh, I fancy porridge. Like, what? You've got bacon and egg and sausage. You fancy porridge? Good night. And there were croissants there, and it was the first time I'd ever tried a croissant. They were gorgeous. And then what happened? I end up with a gluten allergy, so I can't touch them. You can get gluten-free croissants, but they're basically cardboard, aren't they? They're not great, unfortunately. But I have fond memories of croissants, so excellent. Enjoy them. Well, I'm having fruit. You're having fruit. We might indulge in a few nuts.
We might.
We might. Yeah, quite fancy that. But for now, it's good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we'll both see you next time. Goodbye.